into more revenue. But also, like, look, the kind of person, the kind of people that go to games, my estimation are probably going to be the kind of people that are going to buy more merchandise. The kind of people that are going to be more actually involved in the franchise as opposed to just watching it.
I don't disagree with that. But merch matters on an individual player basis. I wouldn't say merch is that huge for the league as a whole.
Well, for the team values, right? I guess that's how you factor that in. How much a team would be worth, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that's fair. But I think, yeah, if everything matters. I'm like, I guess I'm overselling when I say that, like, oh yeah, merch doesn't matter. Everything matters, but nothing matters the way contracts matter. I mean, the way TV contracts matter, and it's not just having TV contracts; it's who those contracts are with, because
I'm saying that the WNBA isn't like, let's talk because of sexism.
You are a small L libertarian, right? And once you're a small L libertarian,
little libertarian. That's
any
little libertarian.
LL,
right? Little libertarian.
Yeah. Did you use a little bro me? Did that just happen?
Virtual.
Yes.
No, you know what a small L libertarian is.
I know. I'm fucking with him.
Also, what is this Grid Motorsports? You're using your virtual camera.
Dude, I'm sorry, bro. I'm messing with my settings, and I screwed it up. Sorry. Yeah, no, I was looking at my other monitor, dude. I wasn't even on this deal. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, bro.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
That's wrong too. I don't know.
The ticket and attendance issue is not a chicken.
Let me just.
It's because there's no demand in the WNBA.
That is weird.
Games that are big, they move them to a stadium that can sell more tickets. You can see this with a couple of games from the FEMA this year and other things. So if they have a game that legitimately has a lot of demand, they move it to a bigger stadium. The reason why they have low attendance is because most of their games are not that interesting to the general public. So that's why they play in a smaller stadium. If they had,
dude, I don't know what's going on with this thing.
They would have bigger stadiums, or they would play in bigger stadiums for those teams. So just making sure.
Oh, I know what it is. That's a problem. Hang on. Try to kill that.
No, they're filling out. We're talking about attendance, not viewership. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm talking even attendance. The NBA is that even more so than viewership. had attendance issues since 2020.
They haven't had attendance issues.
The NBA hasn't had attendance issues. Say it out loud.
No.
So what I need
No.
to do is
What do you call attendance issues? What are you making up for?
I'm saying that they haven't- I'm
what I
saying
need to
that
do.
they-
All right. So what I need to do is
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
they're bringing in crowd noise.
Yeah, it's like they're definitely hurting. It's just crazy because like Spurs, the stadium there, it's probably like, I don't know, I'm guessing like just like 14 to 22,000 people. Wow, right? But I know that like A&M Stadium houses allegedly 107,000 people, right? And they can go past that, right? And so if you're telling me that I'm paying $14 for the Lakers and Spurs for like a mid-level ticket, and I have to pay $1,257 dollars for a nosebleed ticket and 107,000 for the ticket. Something's wrong with one of these two, and I'm telling you which one it is. The NBA, they're fucking up somehow.
NBA, and I'll just say the exact numbers. NBA had a 71% sellout rate in 2024, and that's been like the low over a decade. Their numbers have been trending down.
Okay.
I'm about to say the NBA used to be like a sellout event every single night. Like you had to get
prices changed?
scalpers outside.
No,
Well, yeah,
listen,
that's what I was
listen.
interested to see.
Hold on, I'd be interested to see like the price difference between. Well, no, I'm asking for context. Like
It's plummeted. Prices have
No,
plummeted.
that's what I'm trying to give you. I'm trying to give you context.
Like, do you know the price difference between a couple years ago and the same with the WNBA? Right, because like
so I'm
selling
not-
out a couple years ago and the same with obviously, but we need to compare it to price.
I'm not aware of price, but I just want to. I was sticking to the point that Bam was bringing up. The team with the lowest percentage capacity for last year was the Washington Wizards at 83%. There are 3 teams that were in the high 80, from 83, 86, and 89. The rest of the teams were almost 97%. Some of them were all the way up to 105 at Dallas. So I don't know what you mean by there's an attendance issue. I can show you this chart that I'm looking at. I can show you the link that I'm looking at it on.
You have to look at them
Yeah.
compared to other years. You can say like, oh, these numbers don't mean nothing on their face. Is how they compare.
No,
what does the NBA do?
no,
The
we need-
NBA constantly has like 100%. The tickets
Like,
have
if
been
you have to give away tickets to get attendance,
If
that's
your
not
metric,
good.
if your metric is if they don't sell out every game, they're having attendance issues. That's crazy. That's why I
That's
asked you
what
what
they
you
do,
meant
though.
by
Metric is,
attendance
are they
issues.
doing better or worse?
Yeah,
Are they doing better or worse?
No. To say that they're having attendance issues isn't just they're not doing as good as last
People
year.
aren't going unless they give away
yes, it
tickets,
is.
or they're
Like-
giving tickets
like,
for $12.
hold on,
That's an
hold on.
attendance issue.
Right, like if you were selling out like 98% of the time the year before, and now you're only selling out 70 or 80% of the time, right?
And prices have gone
you
down.
can say that you can say that's an issue or not an issue, right? But we'd have to look in the metrics to see what percentage is profitable, right? It is very possible that if you sell 85, 90% of your tickets, that you're still losing money because of the amount of money that it takes in order to pay out contracts, pay out teams, pay out dividends on stock, pay for the facility, pay for the people working in concession stands that are selling food, there's a lot that goes into it. So you might need to sell 90% plus tickets in order to make a profit, right? So like if we're comparing you can either do one of two things here. We can say attendance issues is an issue compared to the percentages of the previous years, or we can say that it's an issue compared to what percentage it needs to be profitable. But we have to figure one of those out, and we'll know whether or not it's an issue there. But just saying it's like upwards of 80% doesn't actually tell us anything.
No.
It just
Okay. So this is really easy. None of you on this panel know how much money they need for some profitability. So none of you all in this conversation have made an argument about X amount translates to X amount of money. Y'all have only been talking about attendance, which is the thing that I've been talking about. Prime, I sent you a graphic. I'm not in the group
that's
chat.
why
If you can
what are you talking about, dog?
No, that's why I asked Bam what he was talking about, and I knew he was talking about nothing. So, but Prime, I sent you a graphic. If you could put this into y'all's group, you can see what their percentages it is that I was just talking about. But you can also see the 1 year differential. So there are some teams that have some negatives, and there are some teams that have some positives. Looking at this, I don't see anything glaring that there's a attendance issue. So I'm wondering what the hell Bam is talking about.
What's glaring to you based on what? What do you
Looking at the goddamn data that's right in front of you. What do you mean?
So you say, but I'm saying glaring based on Gambit standards. What the NBA has its own standards they follow up to. Like
No. You said
Also,
from
even in your own graph, even in your own graph that is only using 1 year difference, even in your own graph that's only using a 1 year differential, it shows 11 teams with a positive and 19 teams with a negative. So it shows that there's an attendance gap from the previous year overall. At least if we look at it team by team, like I would have to dig into the data further to see if like 105 is somehow better than 83, right? A 5.3% increase is at its best, and an 80, and a 17% decrease at its worst. Doesn't seem
right,
like
guys.
it seems like the data,
So,
like just
while
I
we're
don't have an
sitting here on
exact figure, but just
Discord
looking at
and,
your own
these
graph,
guys are
it
just
shows attendance
rambling
issues
on
compared to the
about I don't
previous
even
year
know what.
overall, and that's just 1 year.
No,
Bam's
it
argument
doesn't.
is
The,
over the
at
last
the end of
few
the day,
years
it's,
there's
I
been
just
dropping
posted.
attendance.
I just posted a ratings deep dive too, so it includes viewership.
We'll
if you
get
wanna
to
go
the
dive into that.
actual
And
debate
the
soon.
viewership
This is pretty boring,
dramatically down over the
to be
last
honest
10
with you.
years. Like, I mean, it's even within the last 5 years, it's 35%.
We're not talking about
Hold
viewership.
on.
I
Viewership
feel
is
like y'all are
directly related.
hopping
Hold on.
into
Man.
five conversations and not making a point on any of them.
Hold on. Viewership is absolutely key because if viewership's down, your attendance is
But
going to
it's
be
not
down.
what we were just
Your
talking about.
attendance is going to be down. You're going to be making less money. You're going to have less people. I don't know. I don't know how you can
I'm
argue
saying
attendance.
that's not what we're talking about, but you won't
I'm not
respond
really
to
sure what
anybody's
they're
fucking
talking
arguments,
about
you
here.
goddamn intellectual coward.
I can give you.
respond, but you dumb niggas keep talking. I'm literally trying to respond, but you
I'm not
niggas just keep
talking.
talking shit, irrelevant shit. What are you talking about? I'm not responding.
I mean, I don't know what he's talking
You're
about,
not
but I'm
responding
saying.
to the arguments that are
I
being
want
made.
to
You're just
respond to the dumb
bullshitting.
shit that Fabian. I want to respond to the dumb shit that Fabian said, but then Gibbs started talking, and now
Yeah, go ahead. Respond. Stop being a pussy.
thank you,
Respond.
thank you.
And
Yes.
actually answer what we're talking about.
What are you talking about being a pussy? I was talking and niggas started talking over me. What the fuck are you
I'm
talking
calling
about?
you an intellectual coward because the moment that you did have free reign to answer, you didn't answer
This
any
is
of the
why I'm
actual
here.
critiques. You just
First
repeated
off,
your
I tried
argument.
to cut you off to say, if you look
That's
at
what
the
I'm here
fucking
for.
numbers, you're saying that some of them have negatives. If you look at the positives are extremely higher. I'm pretty sure if we added these numbers up, I'm not on a fucking computer right now, which is why I'm not on cam. But if you added these numbers up, the positives are gonna have it. There's a +10, a +7, a +6, a +5, a +3s and 2s, and there's like -2, -2, -4. Like if you netted this shit out, the attendance is gonna be in favor of the positive.
But
Plus,
that's not
you
true
can
based on
actually
anyone else's
see.
metrics.
Well, it
Like
looks that way to
everyone
me.
reports related to this league.
Hold on. I wasn't finished. Plus, Fabian was saying I'm only looking at the last year. You can see 3 years of attendance and you can see the numbers trending up. Like, what the fuck are y'all talking about?
What else is trending up in America?
You can't. You
Specify
can't
numbers.
Wait a minute. You can't be looking at. You can't be looking at any metric.
I'm talking to Fabian. Bam, I'm talking to
I don't care who
Fabian.
you're talking to. You came in the conversation. You don't tell me when I can
Hold
talk.
on.
You're not part of this panel. So don't tell me to be quiet on a panel that you're not part of.
I'm gonna see if he's gonna be a pussy or if he's actually gonna respond to me. You can see 3 years. You said I was only looking at 1 year. You can see 3 years. You can see most of the teams are increasing across those 3 years. You can see that the average amount in this 1 year diff is on the positive side. What's your response?
Well, there's no average here, right? So I mean, I would have to go through the numbers. Now, when you look at the 1 year difference, it's not labeled. Then there's a percentage of capacity. So capacity has gone down.
What do you mean it's not labeled?
It's there's no average, and it doesn't not labeled what 1 year difference means. There's no label for what that means. 1 year difference is not appropriate enough for me to actually understand what's happening there. Right, a 1 year difference in absolute values. Again, absolute values.
2023.
Absolute values.
A difference
Absolute values. Absolute values don't matter when population increases, okay? So every single year there are more Americans that are born. So you would expect, even if it was a flat increase, that you would see more attendance and that you would see more viewership because more Americans exist.
Capacity isn't changing. What are you talking about? The percentage of people in the United States.
So then what is the 2024 to 2023 to 2024 percentage of capacity? What is that metric? The blue line, what is that metric?
The capacity is the second column, bro. It's showing you how many people can fit in the stadium.
Okay, exactly. So What you're saying is how many people would fit in the stadium. So you're saying that this means that there are stadium decreases overall?
What are you?
I'm
I think
asking
you're
you
so
the
stupid
chart
that
that
you don't
you're
understand
bringing
that I'm
what this
refuting the
is.
point. Listen, what I'm refuting right now is you saying
Okay.
because the United States population is growing, somehow the attendance at the game should grow too. That's a stupid
Guys,
point. You
this
agree,
is
right?
this
You
is
agree
kind of
that there's a
argument that
stadium?
makes anybody feel
That's
soft. I got to
not
be
a
honest
stupid
with
point.
you.
What I'm
So
saying is in order for a
it's,
You
company
think
to
they're
be
building
profitable,
onto the
they
stadium
must
in
grow.
reference?
who
So you think
cares
they're looking
about
at the
WNBA,
ratio
man?
increase?
This is terrible.
They're
This
looking
is
at the
basic
ratio
And it's
increase in the
really dumb.
population
It's a
and
dumb
building new
argument.
seats
But
into
we'll
the
get to the
stadium,
real
saying,
stuff here
well,
soon.
maybe we'll have two
Yes.
more people this year because there were
Hold on,
20,000 people born.
But can it be? And I'm not like looking deep into these numbers, but like what we guys were talking about was the sellout rate previously, right? And the sellout rate that should be increasing, not
His chart
decreasing,
doesn't have a
right?
sellout rate. His
Oh,
chart
okay,
has
so, yeah, sure.
absolute
But-
values.
Well, I
His chart has
posted. I
absolute
just
values,
posted the average
and then
attendance for the
whatever
last 10 years.
1
if you
year
wanna go look.
difference is.
You can go see
Sure.
what the average attendance is done for the last 10 years.
And the
now.
sellout, but just to be
Okay.
sure that the sellout.
Well, let's
rate,
look
like,
at Gibbs. What does
in
Gibbs
that-
have?
In that
Yeah,
case, right?
they,
the
it's
sellout
basically
rate,
stays the same
like,
except for the COVID season.
Good
the
evening,
sellout
old
rate
Joe.
would
Good
be,
evening, JW.
if
Yeah,
that
it's
was,
nobody's going to
if
stroke
that
out on this
continues
one.
to
But the
increase,
best
right,
we can do is go to sleep.
Of the size of the stadium.
Yeah, somebody needs a
itself, right? The
nappy.
stadiums
Is
keep
what it
staying the
sounds
same.
like. Be honest
Okay,
with you.
right.
Rate,
The
should
problem
show
the
that,
problem here.
They didn't get their afternoon nappy,
The problem
and
is
they're
like
just
when you
talking
talk about
shit.
That's not
economics,
taking
right?
your
Right.
pockets. That's the
When you
problem.
when you talk about a business being successful. Right?
Evening, Nick.
This is
How
like
are you,
101 from,
sir?
like Marx, for example.
Just woke
right?
up from
This is why
one.
he believed in the falling
These guys
rate of
need one.
capital,
You should loan them
right?
one.
Now, obviously, I don't agree with him, and I think he's been proven wrong. But in order for a business to thrive, a business needs to grow, right? Because if a business doesn't have growth, then that means that you, as an investor, there's no reason for you to purchase, let's say, a percentage of stock in a company. Right.
But they don't have to have growth in attendance.
Unless they have dividends.
This
Scott.
is irrelevant. This is irrelevant.
Right,
This
well-
is just a word salad. They don't have to have growth in attendance to have
it's
growth
not a
in their
word salad.
business. They don't have
Yes.
no. It is.
Right, but when they have a decline in viewership and they have stagnant attendance, right? You start adding things up together, and what
And
you
it's like
find is a
lowering ticket
business that is
prices.
failing.
You know what else they have? You know what else they have? Record contracts. So you
Well, that just
look at these
decreases
things as a
profit
silo.
further.
Hold on.
That's arguing back. That's moving back.
You
to the
literally
market.
just
It's not
made
a
Scott's
bad business,
point, bro.
actually.
If the contracts are going up higher and they're paying the players more, then the investors are losing money since the ticket cost, attendance, everything is down. Plus, any business that flatlines dies because your cost, sir, I let you speak. Any business that flatlines dies, sir. Every business that flatline dies because everything goes up every year. Your taxes go up, your rent goes up, your power goes up, your utilities go up, and anybody had a basic understanding of business would know that. So please be quiet and let the adults talk for a little while, sir.
Okay, listen, you dumb fuck. Listen,
No, I'm not the dumb fuck that doesn't know how business works. Shut the fuck up and let the adults talk, sir. Sir, please let the adults talk.
He's so mad.
No, listen. Go look at the evaluation of the companies you dumb fuck.
No, I'm about to say
are talking about.
only
All
the
of them
sports
are
team
rising.
only goes up.
Because you can find some flat chart on attendance or some flat chart on viewership doesn't mean that all of these companies are exploding in value and becoming more.
We
and
were
more
talking about
valuable
one
every
company,
single
sir.
day.
One company.
But you're moving. Yeah, but you're moving the argument away from what you were talking about.
You're moving goalposts, sir. Come on, let the adults talk.
Up.
Just let the adults talk, okay? Just sit there with your avatar up and let the adults talk.
Find me a team that has a declining.
I don't care,
valuation.
sir.
Go ahead.
I don't care. I just don't want you to talk business when you don't know anything about business. That's all. You can talk all you want to about basketball. I don't know jack shit about basketball, but don't talk about business. Because you're not an adult.
Gabby, could you talk about
Listen, I've spent more money in taxes this month than you're going to make this year, and I can bet
I paid
whatever you want on that.
I paid 6 figures in income taxes last year. Shut up.
Damn, how much did you pay in taxes?
I've wasted more money on Christmas.
No, you haven't, sir. Sir, you do not know. You do not know the size of penis that you're dealing with, sir.
But Prime, hold on. How much money do you pay in taxes?
Yeah, how
this
much?
year?
We going band for band.
Rough estimate.
Me?
You
Oh,
don't.
yeah,
I'm
how
about
much
to say
I pay?
you ain't got to. Don't.
Oh, Gambit.
I'm about to say you got my nerves, Gambit, but you. A
You
black
said you
man.
could
Don't do that.
guarantee
Don't
it.
put your,
You said you
don't
could
put your business
guarantee it.
out there.
I want to know. I want to know how much
do it,
money
Gambit.
you pay in taxes.
If they're really rich,
Your guarantee
they're
ain't worth
right
shit
now
if you don't
and
get if
light
you
it
can't
on
back
fire.
it up.
If they're really rich, that's what they'll do.
I can tell you. I can tell you.
No, whoa, hold on. He
Who's
challenged
the one
him.
who said it?
Grid said his taxes. I want to know what Gambit.
the
What
richest-
Black
The rich-
solidarity. I can't allow this.
Listen, hold on.
what?
There's no such thing as
This
solidarity,
is why
sir.
you guys hate Caitlin Clark, okay? Because she's a white girl and is like, she's intruding in. And Grid, he said his fucking taxes. Why can't you?
No, hold on. The richest guy here
Moving
out
on
of the
to-
two of them will be able to pull a stack out, light it on fire, and because they'll have that.
Don't light that on fire. Do not light that on fire.
That's not real money.
I would be pissed.
You will give the attorney. You will give the attorney apoplectic fit if you light that on fire, sir.
Hey,
No,
Gibbs.
do not.
You know,
Hey, Gibbs, hold on.
You better
hold
tell
on
me
a
that's
second,
fake.
Gibbs.
The debate host. Okay.
Hey, Gibbs, hold on. I'm lighting the stack on fire right now. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, we can
I'm doing it
tell.
right now. I'm lighting the stack on fire.
and then he wins.
Hold on, give me 1 second to finish. You wanted me to light $1,000 on fire, right?
Oh
Okay,
my
I'm doing
God.
it as we speak. I'm doing it as we speak. Hold on, give me
You're
1 second.
welcome,
No,
America.
no,
Wait, you're
Gambit,
doing it or give you a
Give me 1
second?
second.
Gambit, thank you. Holy crap.
If you,
Gambit,
Hold on, he told me to light
if
it.
you really
He
want to
told me
waste
light it
money, just
immediately
give,
Why did
Oh,
give
You didn't
black
have to
guys
flex it hard.
some subs.
Buy Prime subs, 100 subs.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
Yeah, right?
shit.
yeah.
I mean, we're gonna
Plus 58.
we're gonna waste money. Give it to
No,
some
I
of the
want
broke
to watch
people,
something.
you know?
Are you not entertained?
Hey,
Hey.
I just lit $1,000 on
That's
Are
fire.
you not
Look at that
entertained?
guy's name. I'm talking to you about business.
Gambit, before you do, Gambit, before you finish that, like maybe just give to the PayPal.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like, come on.
No. He told me to light a stack on fire, so I lit a stack on fire. I just gave Prime 200 subs. Can you do it?
He wasted money on Prime. Not even worth
Hey,
it.
can you
Wait, did he give you 200
subs real
subs?
quick?
Thank him for 200 subs.
Let's gift in increments of 200 subs and see who stops first. Come on, let's do it.
Why are we doing
Whoa.
band right now?
We're doing sub for sub. Let's go
What
sub
are you-
for
what-
sub.
what-
I like how we changed the subject.
No.
I really would like, since you said that you paid more in taxes, I'd really like to know the amount, sir.
Wait. Let me finish. If dumb broke fucks want to come out here and say that I don't know how to talk business, let's talk business. Give 200 subs or say that you have a small dick. Go ahead. What do you
I
want
don't
to do?
give anybody
What do
subs,
you want
sir.
to do?
Why would I do that?
What do you want to do? You give,
Goddamn cheese.
I mean, I've been married 20 years, so it doesn't matter what size my dick is.
Hold on, wait. I only want the broke guy to talk. Can you give 200 subs?
Well, I'm probably the brokest one here. What are you talking about?
No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to
the
the broke guy. I'm talking to the broke guy that wanted to talk when he wasn't even spoken
No,
to.
bro, you are not buying your way out of this. How much did you pay in taxes this year? You're not distracting me, bro.
No,
How much?
I didn't say this year.
More than you
I didn't
made.
say this year.
No, you did
I
not,
said this
sir.
month.
So how much
said
did
this
you
month.
pay?
One person.
This
One
month.
I
person.
said more than you
No, one
made,
person
not
talked.
more than you
I mean, one
paid.
person talked. GSU walked. You won't get the question
Listen,
right now.
He said more than you
on,
made,
listen,
not
listen,
less
listen,
than
hold
you
on.
paid.
Yeah. He said more than I made in a year. That's impossible. That's
hold on.
impossible. But
You're asking
second,
me the
how
wrong
much
question.
did you pay
No.
in taxes?
I don't want to hear
No.
words no more.
Listen. First off, I want you to understand.
This is the dumbest conversation I've had.
Wait,
It's a
wait,
simple yes or no answer, sir. Actually, it's just a number. It's not even words. It's a number.
I'm not allowed to respond. I'm not allowed to respond, bro.
Yeah,
He asked me a
Gibby
question.
can
I can't
tell
respond.
everybody shut up right now. Honestly, he has that authority.
Just answer the
At
question,
the
bro.
cost of 200 subs, he can tell you shut the f up, and you shut the f up.
Okay, so listen. So first off, he got my flex wrong. I said I paid more in taxes this month than you've made this year. I didn't say this year. Obviously, I paid more in taxes this year than probably all you niggas combined.
No, you have not. How much did you pay in taxes? How much did you pay in taxes?
A lot.
You don't get to ask him that.
A lot.
What do you mean he doesn't get to ask him that? What the fuck?
How much
I'll tell you
did
what,
you
I
get
have not
to
paid very
pay?
much
You
attention.
dropped $1,000. You get the
That's the real. If you're
You got
really
real
rich, you'll
money.
know how to not pay taxes. That's the
Guess
secret.
what?
Donald Trump
To be
taught
fair,
us.
Well-
Bam. To be fair, Bam.
Guess what?
Good one's playing by different rules than you, probably.
Hold on. Guess what? I'm gonna keep gifting 200 subs until you give 200. Can you give 200? Can you do it?
I'm not even on Twitch, bro.
So you won't answer, huh?
Can you do it?
You're not going to answer. You're just going to keep
This is all that
deflecting.
matters.
This is how I know you're broke.
Hey, can you do
Clearly,
it?
that's
Can you
not
give?
true.
Can you give subs?
He's got
You
at
said-
least enough money for that many subs. I'm just saying. I mean,
Can you give subs?
He gives more than subs than.
I don't
Greg
care about
pays in
gifting
taxes.
subs. I want you to admit that you flexed
Hey, can you
and
give
lost.
You want me to tell you what?
Admit
I
that you
haven't even
flexed
paid
and
what-
lost.
No, listen.
Sir, we're not
Listen,
moving on from this
listen.
point. You are either
Listen.
going to
No,
take
we're
it
not.
back
Listen, guess what?
or you're going to
This
shut
is-
up.
This is why we're
How
not
much
moving,
did you
because
pay in
I paid
taxes, sir?
that I've given
How
subs
much
right now.
did you pay in taxes, sir? Sir, I need this question answered. We're not moving on.
It
Sir,
hit like the
Holy
first 4
shit.
times. It's not hitting anymore. That argument's not hitting anymore.
I've
Not the
gifted
taxes
400
argument doesn't win no
subs.
more.
Sir,
I love Bam.
I
Why
would
does it
really
not
like
work
an answer
anymore?
to the question, sir.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to answer, right? Because he's a pussy,
Yeah,
like I said before. But I do
All right,
love
so I've already
look at
said
the
multiple
chat.
times how much I paid in
Bam,
taxes
Jesus.
last year, unfortunately.
Wait a minute, Jisoo, I'm going live. F it.
Hey,
Flex on them flex through me.
Yo, what's the bro guy's name? I don't know his name. What is his name? Hold on. I gotta look at the thing.
I just love that they're trying to outcompete you, Grid, by doing broke people shit, like, you know, wearing designer clothes and spending random amounts of money instead of just actually answering the fucking question. But again,
I'll tell you,
and
I'll tell you what.
Successful people do.
My refund, Scott, I'll answer all the
Successful
questions.
Hey, Mr.
My
Bro Guy, can
refund
you
this
give
year.
subs?
Sorry,
Let's give 200 subs to see who stops.
dude, shut up. Nobody's listening to you.
why don't you have a hype train?
So,
Fuck.
Because it's
You
only
can't be a hype train by
Because it has to be
yourself.
from more
I
than
need
one.
him to
It
give
has to be from
two
more
so
than
we
one
can be a
person.
hype train together.
So Greg One can start the hype train. Just give 200 subs.
Bam just gifted 2. We get one
Hey,
more
I'm in
person.
third now.
Yeah.
yeah, give all. I don't even know how to do that. I'm not on Twitch, man.
All
I'm
right,
sorry.
hold on, y'all. All right, I gotta give another
No,
200
You have
Jisoo,
to
do
roll
not.
over.
Bro, please
Hold
stop.
on.
Please, no.
Hold on.
Jisoo,
Wait,
please
shut
stop.
up, man.
I love it. Keep
Listen,
going.
listen.
Prime.
Hold on, wait. The thing, hold on. No, Bam, you gotta understand this. The
You gonna
thing that I
cancel
hate
those
the most.
subs.
The thing that I hate the most.
How much
Bam,
are the
is
subs
that-
anyway? I'm just curious.
Is that I run into these like broke ass white
How
people
much
that
are the
think,
subs?
Oh, because it's a
Somebody
black
tell
guy,
me.
I make more
They're
money. than him.
$5?
So I hate when I run into these.
Okay,
broke
so how
motherfuckers.
many? How much is 200 subs?
Racial. So not only are you a
Yo,
pussy,
Bam,
but you're
Bam,
a
hold on,
racist.
Bam,
How
Bam,
much are
Bam.
200 subs?
Hold on,
I'm just
talking to
curious.
Bam. I'm talking to Bam. Hey, I'm talking to Bam. Hey, Bam.
Nobody cares.
I hate
How
when
much
I
are the
run into
200
these
subs?
broke ass Republicans that need healthcare that's
How-
voting
how much,
against their
how
own
much-
interests. That's what I hate the most.
I'm
That's
just
what I hate
curious.
the
How much are
most.
200 subs? How much are 200 subs? How much are 200
I
subs?
think it's about $1,000.
I think it's
$5
$1,000.
Dude, a level 11. I've never seen that. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Nobody. How much?
I'm always making it. It's a super
Probably
kappa
because Prime
mega
has it
dick,
set to the
dick
low,
measuring
to the low
contest
one.
hype train. Let's go, baby.
200 subs is 1,000 on Twitch. But again, I do have an exclamation point donate if you go there.
Get a steak dinner this week. All right, get a steak
And
dinner.
One of that money goes to Twitch, and this is something you people can consider.
You just want to
But
Bezos.
also,
Hey.
when you make Twitch a lot of money, let's be honest, that's how
Damn
you end up
it!
on the front page.
Stop
More
doing
people.
Yeah, they also the algorithm does bump you.
Yo, hey,
Bro, I'm about to
you
leave.
ready to get?
This is pissing me off. I love you, Prime. This is ridiculous.
Wait, this is at
Oh,
least
I got
10 grand
Jansen
right now,
now.
right?
Cool.
You know, don't worry about it. Why are you asking all these questions, Lacto? What are you, the feds? Like,
we're not pocket watching crime here. We're pocket watching Gambit, okay?
Well, I didn't know he was the
We're not watching
SEC,
crime.
bro.
We're
Like,
pocket-
this
we're
is
watching
some
Gambit's
bullshit.
pockets and Grid One's pockets.
I'm glad you. I'm glad I could help you out tonight.
All I
Guess
know
what?
is that Gambit refuses to answer and keeps spending money. Your ass gonna get audited after this shit.
No, I'm not, bro. I'm not, bro.
You're not paying enough
He
taxes.
spends this
got a great-
That's what
regularly.
I'm
listen,
saying. You know, don't worry about it. You know?
Listen, I still
Send
haven't
better-
paid my
send
tax
subs
yet,
to
but
Scott.
I'm waiting on the broke guy to donate anything. Can you donate to help the hype train?
I'm not on the Twitch, bro. I can only say it so many times.
Don't take long.
You can use our
You need the link?
Elements link, and
I'm
PayPal
sorry, I
or
can't hear
whatever.
you, Prime. Hang on a sec. Yeah,
Alright.
turn you up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got a link here, right? I'm gonna put it in our group DM. That is a link to my PayPal,
Cash App.
right?
No escape.
Stand
And you
My
can,
Zelle,
go
my
directly-
Cash
by.
App.
My Cash App.
Here's my PO box
Yeah.
for a certified check.
right there. So that Stream Elements link that goes to my PayPal, and if anyone, it doesn't have to be you, anyone in the group chat or anyone anywhere,
Coin
Uh,
wallet.
might be able to use that if they want to. I don't know, shut Gambit up, right? You got a problem with Gambit? I think
I don't have a problem with Gambit. I have a problem with what he said.
Well, or anything for any particular to settle any
Why
particular
is it making me
matter.
log in?
You can use the Stream Elements link right there to support the channel.
We better see a new mic soon, Prime. I think that's pretty much
Yeah, that part.
Yeah,
And
At
the
this point,
camera.
if Gambit doesn't
some
fucking
lighting.
take his money back, you better get some fucking. You better upgrade your set, dog.
$3,000.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Holy shit.
Yeah. $3,000 from Gambit so far.
I just
Still doesn't answer. the
Wait,
question
hold on.
that he
Is that
said.
$3,000
There's weird
in the
flex.
PayPal on top of everything this far?
No. $3,000 in Twitch.
In gift subs.
1,500 to me. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
You're doing a
Yeah,
50-50 split right now.
Listen. I've done too much in corporate America to have a guy who votes against his
Corporate
interests to talk
America.
shit to me. I can't have that. I can't have that.
Okay, who'd you work for, bro?
Like, I work for myself. Also,
Well,
work
who
for
did you
others,
work
too.
for in corporate America, sir?
Yeah, I'm never revealing that information on Twitch.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
He is an
I've had
executive.
people.
He's an executive.
Okay.
Damn.
I didn't work in corporate America,
Self-employed executive, though.
but my wife did.
Executive in an
An
organization.
executive too.
I owned
Um,
businesses. That's what I did. So
I'm a
Gambit
douchebag.
also owns
Is that-
businesses.
that
Sorry,
everything?
Gambit also owns businesses.
I'll have you know, I own a part of BP on my Robinhood account. So I don't know.
Hey, there you go.
But
British
if anyone
Petroleum?
wants to
Isn't that not American?
apply, again, yes,
yeah.
the Elements link is there.
I
But
think Bam is muted.
oh, I know he is. No, because I muted him.
Oh, okay.
oh, what?
Bam was sabotaging, the funds.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone wants to prove anything, I don't. Okay. All right. Well, anyway,
I'm not proving shit. If I gave you $1, it would be a higher percentage of my.
I
fucking
really,
income
I've
than either
kind
of
of,
these guys would
I don't
give.
do that as much anymore. I did for a while, but not anymore.
Well, anyway, I do appreciate you.
Prime, do you
Gambit.
feel like a good stripper?
Oh,
You better get a yeah.
Like a top tier stripper? It's a $1,500 night.
Oh,
So like a
no.
British girl
not
club,
bad.
you know?
Yeah, not bad at all.
I would strip if it would give me more money here. If I thought I can make that happen. But anyway, thank you, Gambit, for the kindness. That's really, really amazing of you. Holy crap!
glad I could help you out.
Holy-
I am still
No
serious.
problem,
I still
man.
really kind of curious about that.
Next time through the PayPal link. Don't 1,500. You give me the Twitch with the PayPal link.
Nah,
Oh my
it-
God, next time the PayPal
Prime, it
link.
has a bigger impact on the audience when they can see it scrolling in the chat. But
And now they get ad free
probably
too. They get ad free too now, right?
That's probably true.
I came here to talk basketball because I'm interested in the NBA.
So wait, which team do you own?
Unfortunately, a guy on the panel
Now
just
it's all
assumed because
coming
I'm black,
together.
I don't know anything about business. That's crazy. But yeah, I do got
But
to
you
deal.
said
but I
absolutely
do-
wrong
Why are you gonna
things.
mount racism on top of shit, dude? Like this is so fucking pathetic. Like, just stop, dude. It's gross.
Why do you think this random broke guy just randomly said, "Oh, you don't know anything about business," just assuming that for no
Because
reason?
you
Why do
were
you-
Because you were saying wrong
shit.
things.
That's why.
No, I wasn't. We were
I mean,
talking
he didn't say
about
that to Bam,
attendance.
to be fair.
We were talking about attendance. When y'all wanted to talk about valuation, I pointed out that he was a dumb fuck and that every team is increasing in value. So regardless
You
of
didn't
the
respond.
yes, I did respond. You
respond to the
motherfuckers
actual
just talk
arguments.
and don't listen. Just because you're talking all the time, Fabian, about Karl Marx doesn't mean I wasn't trying to respond.
You talk about Marx?
Yes, he mentioned
do.
Marx
I do
earlier.
often.
You probably missed it.
I mentioned falling rate of profit and then
Oh,
explain.
I got you.
But anyway, I do gotta drop.
Why that
I just
evaluation
wanna.
occurred.
I do got to drop. I just want to say for my Republican friends out there, I really want you all to start voting your interests. You need a public option healthcare system. You need UBI. There's a lot of things that this country need, but unfortunately, a lot of you all's racism stops you from voting your interests. Please start doing that, and you'll be in a better spot in the long run.
Thanks so much.
What if racism is my
You know how
interest?
you know how I know he didn't pay that much taxes? Because he's not voting Republican.
Yeah, that's right.
I was gonna say I would lose this battle for sure if we got that. Because I my taxes,
So
not that
unfortunately,
don't worry about it.
unfortunately,
But Gibbs, if you said you wanted to burn the stack,
Yeah, I was.
yeah.
PayPal.
Look, I
But this
don't
is much more
look.
fun
So,
if I literally burn
Case,
it.
do you
Watch
know?
the sadness.
no,
Can you just
Hey,
bring that
Case,
closer
let
to
me-
the camera again?
Case.
Bring that closer to the
Case,
camera.
let me.
So
So-
the sadness
I
drain
want
from
to see
your
that
eyes.
Hollywood.
The whole
print sign around.
reason that I got started in this thing, in this whole deal, is I
We
used to go on.
unmute, Pam.
I used to watch
He
the
is
Whatever
unmuted.
podcast, and I
I
would
will
drop
never. I can't believe
like
it.
$2,000 or
Prime
so a night.
Cause silences black voices. We've seen it here live in real time.
I saw it.
I'm telling you, we have witnesses to it. I can't believe you just did that. That
Hold
was.
on.
This is
hold on.
famously
I
the
am-
white panel.
Hold on. Listen. I am 13% black, and I talk more than anybody on the panel 10 times over, and so that becomes 130.
You're aware of it.
Once I
13.
speak 10 times. Okay?
Yeah, 13 is a percentage.
So
Yeah.
13% black and speaks
Have you
13%
verified that
black.
13%?
I was
Has anybody
systemically-
verified
like,
that?
I was systematically silenced.
Black
It wasn't
13%.
just-
I'm
Like you
I'm-
can see,
I'm a
it
lungeon.
had the little arrow in the corner.
Jesus.
Hey, no,
muted.
I treat everyone equally. Anyone trying to interfere
Despite
with my
Scott
money,
being
right,
13%
silence.
black.
Absolutely. Right?
I don't know why you're so
And
you're
call
so
yourself-
low,
you call yourself a
Prime. I don't know what's up with that.
Everybody's a socialist till
We
the
didn't
money
talk
shows up. You know.
Is what I call myself.
I was
Right
and
click-
I was trying
right
to
click
I was
his
trying to debate on the morality of that money and where it was going. I wanted to have that conversation, and you silenced me. You sent me to the wall. You executed me instead of having a conversation. He was like, "No, this is capitalism, baby. He can spend his money however he wants."
He
to spend
did.
It's
it. That's
America.
crazy.
Hold on. iCal. Cut your camera on in Discord. We're not using StreamYards.
Yeah. Stream. Yeah,
It was
we're in,
bugged.
Discord.
I may
Stream-
throw up later.
No.
That was disgusting.
You've missed quite a bit. I go. There was
I didn't get $1 during that.
Oh,
either.
you're muted, Icon, by the way.
Can you write that off your taxes? Just out of curiosity, probably not.
I mean, it's a donation, by definition, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not to a
No.
nonprofit.
No, it's not.
Well, the
not on
subs
Twitch.
were
It's not-
donated, the
it's
money
it's a
wasn't.
donation.
But hold on, you could put it in your marketing budget.
my marketing budget. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
That was good. That was good content.
I don't
That
think.
sounds like a good way to get audited.
I mean,
Make a clip. Just listen.
I'm
All you
sure
gotta do
there's
is
a
make
way,
a clip.
but-
Make a clip and put it out, and there you go. That's your marketing.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
But-
Taxes are one of those things. It's like playing Russian roulette, right? And I've never been audited. I was in business I'm still in business technically. I've never 20 years, never been audited. You know, and I
Man,
just
fuck
have no
you.
interest.
Don't
I've
brag
been
about that
audited.
too
I
loudly.
don't fucking make any money.
Yeah.
I have no interest in being audited
Talk to your
whatsoever.
CPA about that. And if you don't have a CPA, you're not rich enough to have this conversation.
Yeah, I have,
Right?
well,
I don't
mean,
claim to be rich, for the record.
yeah, my wife has a master's in finance and and an MBA, and she does all the tech stuff. And even now, right now, because we're acquiring a couple more businesses, we're actually looking for an outside CPA just to double check us, because it's getting really complex right now. Because I have a fund that buys real estate. We're buying another business. We have rental we got a lot of stuff. We have rental property
what?
that we owned.
The
Yeah,
only
rental
way you could actually flex harder than what Gambit just did, give me a job. You know what? That's what you do.
Where do you live?
Yeah, right.
Where do you live?
Huh? I'm in Georgia. Alabama. Well, I'm wherever I need to be. That's where I need to be at.
That's the answer.
That's a good answer. That's actually the best answer. I actually, we're we're looking at a business in Knoxville right now.
All right, let me know.
Yeah.
I'll
Pays
run
well.
it. I don't even know what it is. I do sales.
I wouldn't tell you what it
whatever
is. The deal's not done yet.
Well, I need to be ready. I can get that deal done. I work in
done.
sales. I get deals done.
He'll be the point person, right? He'll hang out in Tennessee.
No, don't do that.
But no,
Yeah, but you got to live in Tennessee, and that's rough, dude. You ever seen the women in Tennessee?
Tennessee's
Tennessee.
I grew up
fine.
near
I
Tennessee.
like Tennessee.
Ooh.
I grew up like 20
Nashville's
minutes
all right.
from the Tennessee line.
Nashville's all right, but Memphis is a shithole, and fucking
Yeah.
Gatlinburg,
They're
Knoxville,
near
and
each other.
what's that other
Whoa,
city? right
Knoxville's fine. Gatlinburg's fine. Nashville's fine. Memphis is kind
there?
of
No,
bad.
I
dog.
was
Nah,
born in
Like
Nashville.
you can fucking count the teeth in that fucking city in one
No,
hand.
dude, it's great. I also
Nashville's a great
I don't know where.
I love the
don't know
Southern
where
accent.
you
Like,
go,
on
man.
women,
You
it's great.
Hold on. You did not just call Tennessee a Southern accent. Like, let's just back up there. Hold your horses.
Tennessee is a Southern accent. What are you talking about?
Give me a break, bro. You're a
Tennessee-
Yankee state.
No,
What?
it's a country accent. It's
What
not
are
a
you
southern
talking-
accent.
Tennessee
It's
is-
not a southern state.
Tennessee
It
is
is
a
a Southern
Southern
Tennessee is a
accent.
Southern state.
Nah,
Tennessee
it's a
is
Yankee.
It is a
Tennessee
Southern
is
state.
100%
That's
a
like,
Southern
It
state.
left the Union and it fought for the Confederacy. It is a Southern state, okay?
So did
That's
Virginia.
not the
right?
rule,
Right? Like,
actually.
yeah, cool. We're south of the Mason
But
Dixon
I
line,
mean,
but that doesn't
Tennessee's
make
the South.
fucking
Let's
Virginia
not-
southern
Okay,
state.
yeah.
Like,
Virginia's arguably south, but Tennessee is further south than Virginia, so it's definitely south.
Tennessee's deep south.
Yeah, it's not.
The
We're not.
deep-
We don't
Tennessee
consider
is south.
ourselves deep
The
south.
deep
We don't
south
consider
is
ourselves
Tennessee,
deep south.
Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi is the deep south.
Yeah.
Now, there's the expanded south from that is also Louisiana, the Carolinas, Florida,
Texas is not
I-
south.
See, South Carolina is
Texas is not
absolutely
south.
south.
and
Texas
then
is the epitome of the South. You know,
I don't.
Florida is
consider-
also
some
not
people-
south.
Some people consider Virginia.
Unconquered
I don't
south.
consider Virginia the South.
Texas.
Right. I mean,
Okay, Tennessee is south,
The
though.
majority of the
Tennessee's very
Civil War
south.
was fought in fucking Virginia, but that doesn't make us really south because culturally
We had a lot of fun.
we're
We
just
had
not that
some
southern.
skirmishes here in Tennessee.
It's Appalachia.
Yeah,
Well,
okay,
Texas
yeah,
is
but
the only southern state that can say they were unconquered. So,
80% of the battles
go
in
fuck
the Civil
yourselves.
War were in Virginia, right? Like
yeah.
the Civil War was fought in Virginia.
People are saying like, okay,
No,
I'm not
dude.
standing there.
Sherman's marching to
Tennessee-
Georgia, baby.
Tennessee is an incredibly culturally like southern place. I think it's like right
is.
there in line with
Country
like
Music Hall of
Alabama,
Fame?
Mississippi. Yeah, I mean, it is what like
So as someone that and I maybe Grid, maybe you disagree with me, right? But when I have a lot of family in the mountains of Tennessee and Kentucky, right? That's where most of my family is from. But even still, like I would say that like Gatlinburg, Knoxville, things like that, they're more Appalachian.
Well, yeah, they for
culturally
sure.
speaking than Southern.
sure.
Now,
They're hill
now
jacks.
Memphis,
They're both.
Memphis, Tennessee is like definitely like Southern in culture. But
Yeah.
like most of the, and maybe you could say Nashville, but that's more
Memphis
like
is next to
Austin than it
Mississippi.
is like fucking
Oh,
a
no.
Southern place.
and Austin is like the People's Republic, so.
Austin,
Well,
I'm
maybe
gonna
not
say
Austin
Texas.
these days.
Texas
All right,
is
Austin might have been a bad,
Southwest.
might have been maybe
I do want
Dallas.
to move past this.
Oh, now it's
but
not about money
I'll
no
go-
more.
I'll go Tennessee and the last word on like what Tennessee is culturally, but after that, I do want to. We could get started with the actual topic.
Yeah, I was just, I mean,
I
You have
like
anything
it.
else to say on that Grid?
I'm
is
sorry.
it south grid?
Grid lives in Tennessee. I'm just
Oh yeah, I live.
Would you
I
agree
live
with
30
me?
miles south of Nashville. I live in the less than a mile from my house is the geographical center of Tennessee.
And you would agree it's southern, right? I mean,
Oh, it
you
is
sound
100% southern. 100%.
Yeah.
Now, and I'll give him that Appalachia is its own unique culture, but you could say the same thing about North Carolina, South Carolina, all of that whole ridge line there, that all of it, it's totally different than the entire rest of the South.
Yeah, because it's not the South. The rest of the South doesn't call it a Southern state, just for the record. Only Yankees, like Lactoid, would call it a Southern state.
Tennessee Yankee.
I'm,
all
no.
right.
I'm from Georgia. I'm from the core of the
Yeah.
South.
Okay,
Tennessee is
might-
firmly South.
Okay,
Well, Texas is not southern, and Florida is
Yeah,
not
I'm
southern.
sorry.
I'm not willing to
Texas
die
is
on
the
this hill.
most
That's just
southern.
my opinion.
Yeah.
That I just
Texas-
feel like
Texas
Tennessee
is
sits in a
western.
gray area.
So, Iko, do you want to say something on it?
Yeah, just that, like, because I live in Dallas, which is kind of a demarcation point for this. Like, we consider the South to start in the part of Texas that is east of Dallas and north of Houston. So that little divot of Texas is in the South. The rest we consider Southwest.
That's fair.
I've never
Fair
heard
enough.
that.
Just our perspective up here. Yeah.
Texas is
But
not-
Texas
but
is
you
so
guys
close.
from
But
Texas,
Iko,
you're
you would agree
welcome.
Tennessee is south, right?
Yeah, Tennessee South.
Yeah, I think of Tennessee as the South too. Yeah.
And all of you and you fellows from Texas, you're
But I
welcome.
agree with the carve out for Appalachia.
Yeah. I mean, the carve out for Appalachia is just because they almost stayed just so compact. They're like kind of like the Amish in a way, in that they just stayed really
I mean,
close knit.
They're
Yeah, they kind of
hillbillies.
their own thing.
You know what I
And
mean?
keep in mind, you know,
I mean, like-
Appalachia goes up like it goes into New Jersey even. So
Yeah.
it's kind of its own
Well,
thing.
I mean, the Appalachia is kind of its own thing, but also the close knitness of Appalachia is in many ways because of the hillbilly highway, right? So everybody that was gonna leave went to Detroit, went to Youngstown, Ohio, went to places there, and then everybody that stayed maintained that culture and stayed even after the coal mines died out, right? Like, so it is a very insular community that is very different. So I don't know. There's just a part of me that feels like this portion of Tennessee that's in the mountains is kind of its own thing, not really like.
No,
Southern
I think most
regard.
people feel that way, honestly.
Okay, all right, we've got it. We've got it. Thank you. Let's just get started with the topic.
Not to giving Prime money, please.
Oh, that would be the best part. Again, that Stream Elements link, it's out there, right? Except
Yeah.
for donating chat.
We'll see who else I can
right?
anger.
We can talk about geography all night if it brings in money.
Yeah.
No, it's business that brought in the money.
I'm sure that'll bring GSU back. We talk about geography
no,
more.
yeah, I don't know.
Geography is
All right,
everything.
so before then, hello y'all. This is the Reverie Roundtable, which we have Mondays 8 p.m. Eastern. We've got a great group of guests here. We're just gonna quickly run through them because I'm anxious to get to this topic. I think there's a lot.
You ain't
here,
running
so-
through me, dog. Gross.
Oh my god. Oh my god. So anyway, let's start with our friend Gibbs, number one spot, where you've always belonged, honestly, I think, right? But, Gibbs, how are you, friend?
I'm good. It's where I would have put me, you know. if
Did
I had a
Lactoid get
choice.
less white? Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's what it is. He got demoted to below this bad
I
person.
put on the Bucks jacket. Yeah.
It's sus. It's sus. Yeah, I'm Admiral Gibbs. These other men are businessmen. I'm just a douchebag that said or retarded and got rich.
Sure, well, but we're not sure if you're rich. So the one way to be sure, though, is that Stream Elements link.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you what a real rich man will say. They get rich by not giving away money.
Although I have given away money
so
before,
sorry,
I just
got distracted by something.
slowed down on it.
Let's go to our friend Bam. Bam, thank you so much for being here, friend.
It's crazy that you actually want to hear from me now, but I'm doing good. Well, I'm gonna be sick tonight, but I'm doing good. Had a fun conversation. Hadn't been on to the Reverie in a while. It's good to see that it's the same degenerate hellhole that I remember and know so well. Feels like home.
Okay.
You're doing well. If you were doing good, you would be giving money to Prime, right? You're
Right.
doing well.
You're right.
You're not doing good.
I did give him money. I gave him $10.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And then I do appreciate that you did a gift to the channel. Much appreciated, friend. Let's go to our friend Corey. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, this is already entertaining, and I was grateful to be here. And whatever, my touch with wealth is growing up in literally the wealthiest neighborhood in Canada. Grew up in Westmount, just FYI. But yes, you can find me on Twitch, Corey Campbell 84, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram is Corey Campbell. And yeah, looking forward to getting talking more about sports, NBA, football, all that stuff in my wheelhouse. Love it.
I grew up in the neighborhood with the greatest concentration of Monopoly money. That's fantastic for you. All right, let's go to our friend. Let's go to our friend Scott. I'm not sure if I'm reversing your screen, so actually I don't know where we're at a point here. But go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I am Scott. My channel is Fabian Liberty. On if you want to watch me be toxic, follow me on X. I will never not say that that's a shitty name, but it is what it's called. And in most of my streaming right now is done on YouTube. I am a libertarian, an anarcho-capitalist, a right-wing anarchist, whatever you want to call me in that regard. So this entire conversation about taxes and how much people paid in taxes, it just really, I really had to hold back, man. I was very angry that we were flexing how much tax money we were paying. I can't get behind that horrible behavior that you guys were doing. So, I'm very disappointed in Grid and everyone here flexing about how much tax money they paid, because if they were really good people, they would be doing everything they could to steal from the U.S. government and pay less in taxes. And I just, I can't get behind it, but, I love Grid anyways, and I'm happy to be here.
And put that money, right? No, I totally agree. It makes sense now, Scott, right? Because that could be more money used for their favorite streamers, right? That would, their local neighborhood PayPal account is where that could
Well, I
sit
mean,
rather
you'd have to,
than
you
the
know,
US Treasury.
you'd have to, set up an LLC and, maybe make you do some incredibly small, work or charity work, and then just give you a salary that's like 98% of the funds. Find some way to give you money without having to pay taxes on it.
IRS, whatever. If that's not legal, then
You
I would never
become
do that.
the
Be
charity.
clear about that.
Something like that.
Thank you so much. All right, let's get to our grid. Thanks for being here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Grid One Motorsports. I have a channel called An Unreasonable Man on YouTube. I used to stream on Twitch. I don't know if I still have. I don't know if it's still active or not. And I stream other places too, occasionally Rumble and whatnot. But YouTube always. And you can find me at An Unreasonable Man. And I'm a constitutional conservative. I believe if it's not in the Constitution, it probably shouldn't have anything to do with the federal government. All about states' rights. Really, the reason that I liked that I bring up taxes, I didn't actually bring up taxes, but the reason I get so heated about taxes is I really hate paying them, especially federal income tax. And there's nothing that angers me more when I think about it. Yeah, that's where that's at. So,
thanks so much. Let's go to our friend. Echo.
Hey, I'm Ike Rich. Streaming from work today instead of from home because I had to stay late at work tonight. Yeah, other than that, yeah, what's going on?
Now I feel kind of bad.
No, it's fine. I don't mind. Yeah.
Oh.
Somebody brought, it was the last day of school, so somebody brought a bunch of snacks, like extra banana bread and like lemonade and stuff. So I'm okay. Like I won't die of hunger.
Oh, okay. Well, if you like banana bread, one day I gotta get you some of my mom's banana bread, which apparently is absolutely amazing. Is what people tell me.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Send it
let's
over.
go to our friend Lactoid.
Yeah, I'm Lactoid. I am a libertarian, not an anarcho-capitalist though, but I have the sense to not call it taxes. It is thefts. They're stealing your money. Don't brag about it. It's bad. Brag about how much you make, because that actually is a sign of moral superiority. If you like what I have to say, you can find me on Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube.
Okay. Will that mean Gambit with his opposite? Is very different politics is more morally superior than you are?
I haven't seen his bank account, but based on his actions, he's probably more valuable than me as a person. Yeah.
Is this the like prosperity gospel of libertarianism?
That's different from morally superior, though. Is he morally superior to you? With all his.
I mean, his ideas might be worse, but like he as a unit of measurement is like could be superior to me.
Is he more right than you?
No, definitely not.
Well,
hold on. Like a giant vault full of gold is not more correct than me on like certain questions. Even
Yeah,
though
but the person who could attain the giant vault full of gold holds some type of status, which then would,
Yeah.
You said morally superior, which is why I would have responded to. But if you want to,
I may have meant like morally valuable, perhaps.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. All right. And now our friend Ali. Sorry.
Yeah. I go by Sociologic, 2 L's. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. I won't call it X, Scott. That's the easy way of doing that. And for the rest of you, the rest of us that are less morally valuable, give your Prime account. You sub through Twitch Prime. What is it? Prime Gaming. It's free that way. You have the Prime account. Give the free sub to this Prime.
A Prime account. Fuck
Thank
Amazon.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, I'm a slightly more morally valuable than I was like an hour ago. But thank you all so much. All right, let's get started because I think we have a really good topic. In the past few weeks, 2 porn stars have dominated the headlines. Bonnie Blue has gained infamy in Australia for specifically seeking out and sleeping with barely legal 18-year-old men. She sleeps with dozens of them at a time over the span of a weekend. Bonnie's friend, Lily Phillips, has grabbed attention after sleeping with 101 men within a day. think it was like 14 hours or so, or 16. Later on, she declared that she would try for 1,000 in 24 hours. What does this say about our society that these women have gotten so much attention in our media landscape? Are they just oddities that have transfixed the public and nothing more? Or does this say something larger about our cultural values? Do you lament the normalization of porn, or do you embrace the more accepting society of adult choices?
I'm gonna
So
let Gibbs talk first on this.
I know. Oh my god.
Ain't none of my business. That's what it sums up as.
But to
You're right.
but to
I know.
elaborate just a bit more, Bonnie Blue, she ended up getting banned from Australia. Not specifically for this. It was some immigration technicality or something. But there was like some sort of petition, some sort of movement to get her banned. She's actually British, right? Because like from like I guess a group of women were spearheading this because she was open about going to basically this kind of like spring break type event that they have in Australia, where young and like people who are 18-year-olds, like they graduated high school. It's a bit of a celebration going into college, right? They're legal. She kind of went to like the hot spot, like their version of Cancun in Australia, right? And we're setting up these meets. Yeah, she like advertised it, and she got dozens of them at a time, and she's made it happen. And then her friend, and I do think my friend, they've worked together before. Lily Phillips, she made 101 men happen in a single day. And there was a documentary that she did simultaneously with this. So there's some of those clips have been releasing. This event happened, I believe, in October, if I'm not mistaken, and some of the clips have been releasing. And her reactions there have like caused a lot of controversy. As some people are analyzing like what this actually all means. So any which way, yeah, I wanted to see if you all think we don't. I did invite women today, but none of them showed up. It's fine. It's not important.
Wonder why? Any particular reason?
What a shocker! What a shock!
The topic wasn't their vibe.
You don't think so?
They had conflicts of interest. Any which way.
Allegedly.
That's what they're calling it these days.
Excuse me. Anyway, look, we just get started. Gibbs, your thoughts?
Yeah. So one, I gotta say, yeah, as for I don't think it's really a concern. I don't have concerns about this because this is something that I disagree with Fabian on a lot of these panels. I come on here, we argue about like morality. And I'll argue that there is really no morality, but I tell you what, I do know there is. There's sexuality. What happened with North Korea when they got to Russia? They started getting addicted to porn. What happened with these unconfidential tribes that got the new Starlink? What's the first thing they did? Got addicted to porn. People love fucking porn. People like sex, they like porn. It's just human nature. We're basically just animals at the end of the day. Everybody wants to like act like we're civilized, but in reality, we're no better than a hog and a rut. That's all we are. That's all we are. We're just big hogs and a rut. Now, as for these two individual examples, yeah, I mean, it is a little icky. I guess she's going for like whatever, barely legals, but I don't know. I grew up like in the 2000s. What was that guy? They had the Spring Breakers. I don't know if it's any different from the Spring Break, the Girls Gone Wild kind of thing. I guess they're both kind of icky. It's very similar to me, I think, in that regard. As long as they make sure they're legal, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. And as for the other girl with 101 dicks, god damn, bro. I mean, who could you imagine being level number 100? I'd give it like throwing a hot dog down a hallway. That couldn't be too fun. But either way, sorry, I guess personal thought, I guess. I think she's gonna be set up for life now. She can take this fame. And she's willing to do something that nobody else was doing. Take 100 dicks, and now she's going for 1,000. This girl's going to be in the Guinness Book of World Records for eternity. What are you going to do? Nothing.
Oh, there you go. It's a good point, actually. I didn't consider that the world record holder. Huh? Would they actually give out a record?
World record's like 983. I looked it up the other day.
Oh,
980. That's why she's going for 1,000. She had to practice. This was the warm up.
Yeah.
It's more of a logistics thing than anything else, honestly. But let's go to our friend Bam.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who there's like one clip in particular going around social media of her like at the end of the experience, like just kind of having a large range of emotions, and then they show her like have a moment of like a tear, and they say like, and people are like, feminism failed you, like society should have told you to be home and be a virgin and cook pies, and you would have been happier. Like you're destroyed, but in reality, like I don't think this has anything to do with feminism. I think you could make an argument it has, and this has something to do with our social media age and the idea of the things people were willing to do for stardom or clout, and to be like a star in social media. So I don't know. I think she's an adult. I think she can have sex with as many people as she wants to have sex with. Would I or probably any psychologist recommend it as like a responsible, healthy thing to do? Probably not. But she's moving on. She's gonna try it again and try to break the record, and she probably is gonna receive some level of like stardom and fame and financial success from it. I think the dumbest thing in the world is the Hawk Tuah girl made like the fact that I can really identify her as a Hawk Tuah girl made like a 3 second viral clip, and then within 6 months she has like a top five
She didn't even make the clip.
Top
rated
three podcast.
podcast in the world. Yeah.
And a rug pull.
And then,
so-
yeah, a rug pull. Yeah.
Yeah, but-
Massively successful rug pull. Yeah.
And it wasn't even her clip.
Yeah, I don't know. I just
Let the man do his intro.
Yeah, I just think that like it's telling what our society's what people want to see, and the types of things that I don't even think have to be necessarily pushed on us. Like I think that there's something strange going on that like whatever it is to get clicks and like the types of things that get clicks and views are just really really strange, and I find it unrelatable. But to each their own. Freedom.
Thanks so much. Let's go to our friend Corey.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack. I definitely do agree with what Bam just mentioned in terms of like I think this is largely just a culture of spectacle and whatever grabs people's attention. In terms of like social media and all that stuff. Like I think another example in that vein, like you just have ridiculous things happening now in streaming and just people doing. I think the whole story of Johnny Somali now in Korea is really bizarre. And also even just the example of like the Jake Paul and Tyson fight. It's like, yeah, that's just like spectacle. That probably shouldn't have happened. It's a bad idea all around, but that's what gets attention. And from what I understand, like people tuned in and people were excited about it. Do I think that's a good thing and a good reflection of the culture? No, but like the market has spoken, right? And I guess for these particular examples, well, even just so I'm not all caught up on the details, but even like the 1,000, the person going for the record, 1,001. Even just whatever logistically, for if I've done my mental math correctly, each person gets like a little over a minute. That seems like a little bit like even just getting the person in and out and hopefully cleaned up seems like potentially a problem.
Quickie.
But I don't know. I'm sure they'll figure it out somehow. Unless they're going to go two at a time. I guess that's possible. But and also,
I mean, technically, you could go more than that.
Sure, I'll let them flesh it out however they want.
How many miles a
but-
dick is that?
It's really dick to floor. I'm about to tell you, you put two dicks on each side. Only not everybody got that reference, but there's a.
But I'm sure it can be done. It probably is going to be done. And like, yes,
question.
is all legal? Sure, but do I think this is, let's say, a good thing and recommended? No, I don't think this is a good reflection of the psychological state of our culture. In terms of the person, arguably doing maybe predatory things, sleeping with 18, 19-year-old boys. Yes, it's legal, but I'm open to I've said it before, like increasing the age of consent. I think there's an argument to be made there. And like, yeah, they might be making a case for that. I'll leave it there for now.
Okay. Let's go to Scott.
Yeah. So obviously, first and foremost, I think that you have a right to do these things. You have a right to be a whore if you want to be a whore, and be a public whore for clout and fame. But there is this growing problem in our culture where, I guess it's a sophomoric understanding of philosophy and morality from the majority, where because we have adopted liberalism, there is this kind of surface level liberalism where our culture to do something, and the government shouldn't bring in guns to stop. Right, the market will respond to people's desires, but the market is a largely amoral force. I mean, freeing the market is moral, is good because it is lessening the evil of an unfree market. But that doesn't mean that just because you're free to do something that thing must be by definition good or morally right. I think there is something kind of a weird gray area, obviously, with the first individual reference going after, barely legal teens. I think people that age do lack some complete agency. I do think that the age of consent should be higher than 18. However, my beliefs on age of consent should also mean that children ought to be able to sign with a judge and be emancipated much easier, right? It shouldn't be a lengthy process. If the parents agree and the child agrees, then you ought to be able to be considered an adult legally through an emancipation process that should be simple if there's no challenge either from the parents or the children. When it comes to Lily Phillips, right, which is the individual doing the 1,000 cocks here soon. The documentary, I think the biggest thing from that documentary that people, I think, latched onto, rightly so, was disassociation, right? She stated that she was unable to remember more than one or two guys. She had to view the footage in order to even remember their faces. And this is a very common trauma response, right? She's showcasing that it was a traumatic experience for her, despite the fact that she went into it willingly. Because she subjected herself to something that, is essentially, she willingly engaged in something similar to gang rape at a massive scale. And our mind and our body are not designed for that. I think the entire phenomena of, these OnlyFans girls having massive stardom and massive amounts of wealth is kind of a congruence of variables, right? I think it's really, really bad. And the reason I think it's really, really bad is because, a host of things. I think social media and the way that women engage, or a particular subset of women engage, is breeding narcissism in our culture, especially in women. It's creating narcissists because, they have an online community of people that essentially worship them and then they cultivate that community to get rid of anybody that's a hater. And then that own community that worships them sexually, then defend them, right? So it's very similar. It's like a learned narcissism where they believe that they're untouchable. They believe that that everything that they're doing is good. And anyone who challenges that is actually a bad person. And it's making that subset of women essentially allergic to any form of accountability or living in the real world. And that is very damaging to those women in terms of their long-term prospects, but it's also very damaging to society when it's on display in such a degree and it's celebrated, because it's causing a gender split. It is one of many things, but one thing that is certainly causing a gender split where you have red pill people and MRA people that, are focused on this hyper popular, smaller subset of women, and painting women as a whole in these lines. I mean, you see so many of these podcasts and people that think that women are all whores and that they're all, transactional and that they all want, the 6 foot tall, big dicks, abs, 6-figure guy, when, the data actually shows that women are checking out of the dating marketplace, that women, is not to the same degree as men, but women are leaving the dating marketplace because of the toxicity and the gender issues and a congruence of variables. And so I think it's damaging to women. I think it's damaging to men. I think it's damaging to the health of our culture and society when we celebrate and venerate, behavior that we knew for thousands of years was degenerate, that was psychologically unhealthy, and wasn't good for families and long-term happiness. It is the height of high time preference thinking above anything else I've seen in our recent culture. And anybody that understands economics knows that high time preference thinking is damaging towards a culture and society.
Are we still in Scott's opening?
Yeah, I was like,
That threw down. I was like, wait, we still here?
yeah. All right. Thank you. Let's go to our friend Grid.
All right. So, yeah. So the OF thing that we've got going on now has been very interesting the past couple of years. I first want to shout out the Russian owner of OnlyFans. He paid himself $1.3 million a day last year. That was the smallest amount that he could legally pay himself, and without risking an audit. And therefore, he is the world's best pimp. Just the way it is. $1.3 million a day, gentlemen, is a lot of damn money. It's a lot. And so I think what we've seen also, by the way, one of my guys did the math. 1.87 miles is how much dick she's going to take. I've got the best chat.
1.75 billion.
I don't think that's true.
1.87 miles of dick with an average of 5.5 inch dick.
No, it'd be a fraction.
For 1,000 or 100?
Like 500 feet.
1.87 miles of dick.
You're muted, Bam.
So I'm sorry.
Depends on if they're measuring by thrust, that might be different.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have to add in there that
216
country-specific
thrusts times
nationality.
100 guys, 216, 21,600 thrusts, average 5.5 inches, 118,800 inches total, or 1.87 miles. I'm telling you, these guys.
You sound
That's
pretty
every
good, but you
thrust.
gotta account for the country you're in, because the average dick size is gonna vary by nationality. Of dick
Well,
you're
he
dealing
just
with.
went with 5.5 inches average. So.
Yeah, I understand.
So anyway,
you can figure this out.
that's a lot of dick. That's a lot of dick. So,
The mean jerk. Time.
the OF, the OF phenomenon is very interesting, and I think that the danger of it is not just that women do these things; it's that they think they're going to get paid for it when only the top 1% actually make any real money doing it, and they have to consistently do more and more, I guess, outrageous things to continue to get the views and the clicks and the likes, or whatever, and to maintain their subscribers, because it is a subscription service. And so a lot of women believe that they're going to go into this making 6 figures a month. That's what the 1,000 dick stare lady makes, 6 figures a month. A lot of girls go in there thinking they're going to get paid that much. It just doesn't happen for them. And I really feel like that at the end of the day, porn in general is just, it's always been it's always been there, but it's always been kind of restricted, right? We can go from the Kama Sutra all the way to Aleister Crowley, but there was an entry cost. You couldn't just be a part of it because you wanted to be a part of it. There was not even a price of admission. A lot of times you had to know somebody who knew somebody who then decided that you were worthwhile to be a part of their little degenerate club. And then you could be part of their degenerate club. And now anybody that can click a mouse and pay $5, apparently, you're in. There's something wrong with that, especially when kids can do it. There are no real controls for underage viewers. This is a real problem, I think, bigger than any other. And as much as we infantilize our youth as it is, if you're infantilizing someone and making them, at 13, they can't even walk down the street by themselves, and yet they can go upstairs into their room and watch 6 hours of porn every night, something wrong. It's just wrong. You don't even need to know why it's wrong. It's just wrong. And but we'll get into that later, I'm sure. And so I actually don't have a problem with what these women do. I have a problem with the market that they serve. I have a problem to some degree with the attitude and the cavalierness surrounding it. And it'll be great to get into all of it. But we have lost that taboo, hidden, forbidden sort of thing that pornography always
And have Scott
was.
and this guy back to back.
Oh my god.
So I'm done.
All
I
right,
don't go as long
well,
as Scott's the master. I'm.
Absolutely. You're only the
You're just
apprentice.
the student.
That's one word for it. That's
Yeah.
one word for it.
He's saying he aspires to Scott. That's what he's saying.
Yeah. Let's go to our.
There are
friend
words,
Heiko.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this. If I'm not careful, I'll be longer than Scott, but I'll try not to. But I will say that there is a long list here that I suspect, because some of it's science adjacent, Corey might like ask me for sources on all of this stuff. So he can just like ask me like in the once the discussion starts. But it's been linked. So pornography has been linked to sexual dysfunction, addiction, distorted perceptions of what you expect your partners to be like, isolation, think like otaku culture, like people who never even like leave their apartments. It started in Japan. It's starting to become more of a thing here too.
I don't think you mean otaku. But
An otaku is just a Japanese nerd. There's a whole culture of people there who literally will not leave their apartment. Like they work at home.
That's not
They
the
get all
word.
their food.
Otaku is not the word you're looking for there, but it's fine. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, it's a subset of the otaku. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And I forget what that's called, but I'm just thinking about that, like the whole story. Negative feelings like self-perception, body dysmorphia has been linked to it, and relationship issues. Like, so a lot of conservatives these days are talking about, like, what do we do about like the fact that we're not reproducing as much anymore as we used to? That people are starting to link that to the availability of porn in our society, and this freedom that we have is sort of, it's not really freedom if you look at it over the longer term. I think at one point I mentioned to, I think you Prime asked me about like what is the Catholic observation on masturbation and why it's a sin. And I want to talk about that in the back and forth, because it's something that you told me that I should talk about that you think chat would be interested in. I don't know, but I can tell you the logic behind that, right? But largely it has to do with the fact that human beings are attracted to each other, right, through our physical attraction to each other. And so if you read, for instance, I don't know, you go all the way back to Dante. If you read about like if all of the sins that are associated with people who are in purgatory, who are on their way to heaven, the very last sin on that mountain, it's the very, very top, which means that it is the sin that is closest to heaven, is lust. Because lust itself is connected to love. It's sort of a twisted version of love that has something removed from it, essentially. And so it becomes the closest sin to God. And the thing is, if that thing is removed from it, then it's the thing that Catholics believe like is that final sort of barrier. And we can talk about that, but at some point in the future, I just want to say that like a bishop that I had a lot of respect for once explained to us that many relationships start with that kind of lust, right? You get into that relationship, and the only reason you're even with that person is because of those urges. But then over time, what started as not a loving relationship becomes a loving relationship, right? But pornography short circuits all of that. It gives you all of the rewards that might bring you to another person, but it doesn't bring you to anybody, right? So all of those things that could be good, that are a result of a lustful decision, Catholics would argue, are removed and hollowed out. And that's one of the reasons why like pornography is like such a big issue, especially with the Catholic Church.
Thank you so much.
I have so much more to say, but I'll do it in the back and forth.
Yeah. And thank you for Scott for pointing out that term hikikomori. That's the term you're looking for.
Yeah, I put it in the Discord.
Let's go to our friend Lactoid.
A lot of agreeable shit has been said this far. I'm just gonna, I guess, summarize my position. As to the OnlyFans chick taking the 100-something dicks, I mean, it's a lot of dick. I agree. That's on one hand, I'm impressed, but on the other hand, like, it's also pretty disgusting. I think that she probably. I saw the video afterwards. I obviously didn't watch the video of the dicking, but I'm not going to pay for it. It's not because I don't watch porn, because I don't pay for porn. Okay, but I saw the video of her like with the 1,000-yard stare. I think she definitely had some kind of like trauma response. She started crying during like the brief interview. She said that, it was kind of really intense and there was a lot to it and her memory was foggy. I mean, it's actually a little bit hard to watch. So I think that even though I'm not going to ban it, it should be allowed just because it's a consensual interaction between adults. It's still pretty fucked on like I think a human level, in the sense that you can choose to do consensual things that are like pretty fucked for yourself, right? If you choose to smoke cigarettes or like, shove needles in your skin, like
Ride a
probably
motorcycle.
not, but well, except for that, of course. It's kind of fucked. It's kind of messed up. And if we see somebody doing that, we become a little bit concerned for their health, right? You're not hurting anybody necessarily by like, eating your own shit. But if I catch you eating your own shit, I'm going to have some questions and I'm going to be concerned about your well-being because I'm a human and, you're a human and I want what's best for you. And the fact that you're eating your own shit, I think, is indicative of some potential problem. And I think that she has a potential problem here. And I know she's making a lot of money and that could explain most of it perhaps. But I mean, she's definitely suffering through it. Yeah, she's suffering through it, and it is sort of sad to see. At the same time, though, I think there's a criticism of OnlyFans generally, which is that a lot of people will focus on, like, because of infantilization of women, how women are, the ultimate victims of this. But I think the men are victims too, in that they are being sort of their own sexuality is being weaponized against them. In a similar way that casino owners or cigarette salesmen will use somebody's brain and the addictive mechanisms within it to make money. I think OnlyFans creators sort of do the same thing, where they're relying on the fact that men have this sexual drive that I guess it can be easily manipulated, and they are manipulating them out of this money. I think this is generally true with sex workers in total. But of course, as is the case a lot of times with manipulators, not only is it hurting the person they're manipulating, but I think it's also kind of hurting themselves. So it's a sad sight to see overall. I think the only thing I would regulate is children accessing it. That was brought up before. I think that is a major issue. I think children, anybody under the age of 18 shouldn't be on these websites, and definitely shouldn't be creators on these websites. Girls Gone Wild actually got in a lot of trouble because some of the girls on there were apparently not 18. There's been some lawsuits about that, my understanding is. But speaking of that, the kind of the second part of this prompt, what about the woman who's chasing down 18-year-old men? This is going to surprise you. Technically, this is ephebophilia. People who pursue people who are up to 19 years old are ephebophiles, which is the sexual attraction to adolescents. And so she is, by scientific definition, she's an ephebophile, right? She is chasing after adolescent men, 18-year-old men. Do I think this is weird? I do. I think it's weird. However, I have a principle where if you're old enough to fuck me in the political process, I should be able to fuck you sexually. And I think if we're going to cut it off at 18, I would agree, maybe raise it to 21, but then the voting age has to be 21 too. And serving the military and all that other shit has to be 21 too. I can get behind that. But I'm not going to have this situation where these fucking 18-year-olds can vote and fuck me over, but then all of a sudden, like, we're still going to sort of treat them like children. I'm not a fan of that.
You can get behind it and bend it over. Agreed. All right, let's go ahead.
Consensually.
Consensually.
Voting is never consensual.
Yeah, I more or less agree with what's been stated in general, except for the girl that's fucking the spring breakers or the graduates, whatever the fuck it is, and they're 18. If she wants to do the service, do the service. But what I think should be attacked is all you nasty fucks that participate. Who participated in the 100 dick off? Who participated in fucking like a girl back to back after your boys just got done slamming the girl? Who's watching you? I don't blame these girls for nothing. I don't give a fuck that it's manipulative or you're hitting their. Fuck these guys for giving them their money. Fuck them for giving the attention. I don't necessarily care because at the end of the day, there was always this form. There's always been this form of like these just guys giving their life's worth to these girls that don't even recognize them. It's always existed before porn. It'll exist after porn. Doesn't really matter. But you should be shamed. You should be ashamed of yourselves. That's what we need to do, is shame the spenders, shame the dudes that are participating in this, not the women. Leave the women alone. They're not doing anything wrong. But yeah.
So
little column A, little column B.
I think
I want to.
looks like I'm going to be the only one really on the other side of this. It seems like. But I'll,
You should go for
Wait a minute.
2,000.
I feel like we got
Wait,
so
what?
far away from my point that it feels like I agree with everybody
Yeah.
else. I don't
I
think
don't
I
even know.
agree.
You and Gibbs.
I want to respond.
Yeah,
I
who
wanna
even knows what I
respond
said? I don't even remember.
Sociologic. I do want to respond to sociologic, right? Like, because this is a theme I've seen online in terms of the Lily Phillips, especially, which is the 100 to the 1,000 cock lady. Like, I agree with you that the men ought be shamed, right? I absolutely agree, but there's a bit of a bias going on here, and the bias that I think is a natural conclusion of the fame and the clout, right? Like, I agree with you that these men ought be shamed, but my issue is that a lot of times it seems like there's, especially the feminists, right, are like, these guys are the real disgusting creeps. And it's like, I kind
Well,
of
no
agree with
shit.
you on that. Right? Like, I do agree with you on that. Like, it's there's something disgusting there. And they ought be shamed. But the problem that I have with that interpretation is that the guys are an amorphous horde of nobodies.
Yeah.
And the girl is putting her face out there, trying to get clout, trying to push this into media for her brand, right? And so I think that's the distinctive difference here, is that I agree with you that if there was, like, if Todd, Dick number 67, right? Todd was out there and was like making TikTok vlogs about his experience and was trying to grow a brand off of being Dick number 67, like, fuck Todd. Everybody should, like, talk about how much of a disgusting creep Todd is. But there is no
Might be a good
Todd in this
brand.
example, right? Like, there's just a nameless, faceless horde of guys
Yeah.
that, like, whose identity we don't know.
Which I
And
think
then
makes
there's
it
a girl-
worse. I think that makes
agree
it
with
worse.
you,
Like, the
right?
guys the guys are going in, they're giving her all this notoriety, they're giving her all this publicity, they're giving her all this fame, they're giving her all the clout. They're reaping zero benefit outside of a minute of being inside of her. Fuck that. And it's to your point, the reason I don't judge the girl so much is because at the end of the day, fuck it, it's capitalism. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
I'm-
if
you're absolutely-
if
he's
there's a
absolutely-
market, there's a
But
market
again-
for
but-
it.
All he's
No,
absolutely
that's,
correct
That's
there, though.
exactly what I was talking about in my opening statement, is that
Yeah.
just because a relationship or, is based upon voluntary exchange, and that means that you don't have a right to utilize violence to stop them. But that doesn't make it good, right? That it is still
I
a
don't think it's
bad
good.
It's
thing.
good for them.
Yeah, I don't
She's
think
rich
it's
now.
good.
But that's your thing. But when you
But I
say,
think the
well,
moral
fuck it,
wrong
it's
lies with the
capitalism,
guys and not the
why-
girls in this.
How does the moral wrong not
Yeah,
lie
come
with the
on.
girl?
Wait,
think there is a moral wrong.
Because
Yeah,
women can do
he's
no
right.
evil.
He's
I can
absolutely
explain.
right.
I can explain. You allowed yourself as a man to be used with no notoriety. No, I don't know if these guys got paid for it or whatever, but you allowed yourself to be a participant within this situation. You allowed it. So anything
you
that comes from
volunteered.
it, the video,
You didn't allow
yeah,
it. You volunteered.
They volunteered.
well, they
yeah.
want, yeah, they volunteered. So honestly, I think they're not like a contributor. Like, her trauma isn't on them, right? Her trauma's on her. But I'm saying, like, the fact that this video is able to exist, the fact that the fact that she gained this notoriety is 100% on the dudes that, like, participated and let themselves be used in the
why-
video.
Hold on. Let me add.
Why does this is the height of sexism. Why does the man have agency, but the woman lacks the agency in her
No,
decision? She's not in a whorehouse. She's literally filming it. She's building a brand
Yeah.
off of it. She's celebrating it.
Yeah, but there's
She's
nothing wrong with
pushing
that. You
But there's
just
nothing wrong with
imagine
that.
the skill
onto the
I
culture.
wanna move
That's
on.
just being an
Gotta go to
influencer.
Gibbs, Bam, I think.
What?
And was it Lactoid?
Yeah, so I mean, Ollie's absolutely correct here. Like, in fact, I think it's even more impressive that it's some amorphous, blob horde thing where nobody even knows. It's like she took something and basically said, "Skill issue. I'm going to be known for being the most successful whore in the world," and now is richer than all of us. Probably, she's got more notoriety. She can probably parlay that into
Not
other
GSU
things.
Gambit though.
I'm just saying. Hey, I don't know. Can't speak for him. Maybe she pays.
How many
her
shares
taxes.
did she give?
We'll see. We'll see what her taxes are like.
We can only figure out wealth by who donates to me. That's the only
Right,
possible
right.
way.
I mean, Lily
That's
Phillips
only
needs to get on the
metric
prime
that
case
matters.
life, I guess. But my point is, though, yeah, it seems like we're pro capitalism until there's some kind of moral thing, and all that sounds like to me is skill issue.
Or it's a
People are
girl.
mad because there's something in your life holding you back. If you wanted to be the man with the golden bum and go take 1,000 dicks, you could do it, but you're not willing to do it. This person was willing to do something that you weren't willing to do, and now you know what? You can think it's shitty, you can think it's horrible, but it was something that was work. It was probably work taking 100 dicks, organizing it, getting it all done. And guess what? She did it. You weren't willing to do it, and now you want to go, oh, that's bullshit. She got rich doing that. Well, I have to say, if you want to do that, why don't you go take 100 dicks and you can be famous for it too? Until then, shut
But
your
I
mouth,
think-
quit your bitching.
No, that's not an argument. My argument is that it's immoral. And your argument
Not
is, well,
immoral.
why don't you do the immoral
Well,
thing?
Lactoid doesn't think it's
if you
immoral
have a
because she's
problem
rich
with
now,
it?
so she's more morally superior than the rest of us.
I
Because
don't
none of
understand.
that is out there.
That's like no, like my claim
Why are we
is
weighing it out
that
morally?
that
Yeah,
yes,
you thought I
it
forgot.
is a human right to be able to engage in this behavior without violence coming, without cops kicking down the door and stopping you. But the problem is just because something is a human right doesn't mean that it's good, right? Taking heroin is a human right. That doesn't make it good.
That's not my problem. though.
Gibbs, I think, would disagree with you.
I don't know. I don't apply. I don't apply any of the moral weight to it. Like that to me, that's irrelevant. I think the thing we can point to is would we
How is it irrelevant? You can't just dismiss all morality. Do you think
Oh,
morality
okay.
is
I
irrelevant?
did. That's what I did.
Maybe
We're just
my next
animals.
word would have said it. How about that? Maybe, possibly. Stop me. I don't think any of it matters trying to apply this like moral weight to it because to me that means it means like all that and a bag of dicks whenever you're talking about.
She literally
Whenever
did
you're
that.
talking about something that people can agree to do, the question would be like you can have the conversation of like, oh, okay, would you recommend other people do this thing, and you can say yes or no. But even that is just going to be based on like a statistic. That's not going to be based on whether it's good or morally good or bad. Like I know beautiful women who I would recommend like I remember going to college with gorgeous, like, well, there was like 2 or 3. They're like gorgeous women. It's like, oh, she shouldn't be in college. She should like go to some NBA game or professional sports game and find an athlete. Like there's not many women that can do with that, but like you are in this rare tier person that can do that. Would I recommend everyone do that? No. No, because I don't think your outcomes would be good. But that's not me speaking to the morality of it. And when we're talking about judging in society and all this trauma, the reality is that what happened is a lot of those guys are probably who agreed to do the 100 dicks thing, or even in both situations, even with the girl who did the like mass hookups, there were probably like 6 out of 10 dudes who feel like, wow, I've never
There were a lot
probably
of
get a chance
virgins
in
in
real
that
life
deal.
to hook up with a girl that's attractive. Like,
Yeah.
and they feel like they got a win out of it. They don't feel like they were traumatized. They don't feel like they were used. They feel like, wow, I made an exchange that benefited me. I had to have sex with a really hot chick, in their opinion.
Do you think
They made a
moral
deposit.
questions are irrelevant? Do you believe that all moral questions are irrelevant and that we
No,
just
not
shouldn't
all.
talk
Just
about
this
morality?
one. I think this moral question.
Why
is
is
relevant.
this one specifically? Why
Because-
is this one irrelevant to discuss the morality of it and
Because
the effects
what-
on society?
Because when people generally, and I know that you have some like book from 1863 definition of morality that you're talking about, but when people usually talk about morality, they're talking about like a harm that it's causing to a person and why society shouldn't allow it. But I think that you would call it, if both people,
That's
like
ethics.
you're pointing to some version of morality where both people come out of the situation feeling like, wow, I'm very happy and satisfied with the outcome. And you're saying that was like, and there's no one harmed from it, and you're still applying some level of morality to it.
Well, first of all,
Well,
I did explain in my opening why I thought there was societal harm and greater harm, why I thought it was high time preference thinking, and why high time preference thinking is bad. But setting all of that aside,
we shouldn't
because that
pivot this
wasn't what I
back to you.
said.
I actually don't want you to answer. Not because it's you. I want you to answer. But I feel like you went like 3 times, and I feel like somebody else needs to go.
Well, I mean, I'll
You're saying
I'll take a stab
nonsense,
at it.
like, but okay.
Cool, but just let somebody else respond. Dude.
I'll take a stab at it.
Good if you wanna
So-
respond,
Yeah, because I'll
like,
fuck
quick.
you up. Like that's
Yeah,
You can come
that's
back.
okay.
I will
That's
argue with
okay.
you all
We'll,
day.
we'll see.
It's just
So
Yeah, we'll
here's the
let
thing.
Let Grid respond, then Lactoid and Corey.
Okay, so I can't see any reason to ban pornography, right? And I weighed out all of the pros and cons of people say, well, if you ban it, It's good for society. It does a lot of things, because if you look at pornography, it can lead to the sex trade, trafficking, a lot of trauma to women, a lot of these things. And I'm like, well, okay, but I can say that basically about anything in our life. And so I don't believe that we should just ban things that I can't find an actual reason to ban them, right? Matter of fact, I don't believe in banning most things. I think it's a waste of time and resources. So what I'm left with then is trying to understand how does it fit into society, right? And it used to be, again, that deviant sex, well, they didn't really have pornography so much as they had deviant sex cults and that sort of thing, like the Kama Sutra and Aleister Crowley in England and all of these other degenerates. Well, they were limited in scope. And your 12-year-old kid wasn't able to download a bunch of it on the internet every day. And this is where the problem comes in. And it has nothing to do with my morality. This has nothing. I'm actually not going to argue for once from a moral basis. I'm just saying that you can't point to where banning it would help, but you also have to admit that there has to be some limit. There has to be some hard stop.
No, we don't. Hold on.
You don't?
You could look at because you're calling something degeneracy, right? You're talking about these sex cults. Well, okay, let's just look back. I don't know. Pick an ancient empire. Let's go with the Greeks. You know, they're hedonistic to the max, and they. Some of the biggest philosophers of all time. We study their study states. Democracy stems from them. So, like, when you argue that something is degenerate, you're absolutely arguing it from a moral standpoint. So, I would even argue that none of these behaviors
degeneracy
are
would be less than right, not necessarily moral. Degeneracy is not immoral, sir.
I'm about to say you can just it's just about an outcome argument. Like it absolutely. If we had some study based on information that could lead us to with some level of certainty, not 100%, but if we saw that the amount of porn we allow in society is like increasing child rapes by like 35%, then you could what we would gain would be worth it. I mean, the state of Alabama has already banned porn. Like if you're you can't watch it in the state. I think other states have too.
Without ID, they
follow the Utah law.
It's not even just ID. They say because they don't have the ability, they don't have a actual ability to enforce it. It's just banned across the board. Like your IP banned.
Really?
Well, a lot of Pornhub won't be.
Wait, really? That's a thing?
Hold on. So what they've done is Pornhub is
not really.
So what they've done is they voluntarily blocked it from that region. So Pornhub, for example, is voluntarily blocked in Texas because they don't want to risk breaking the Texas law because they think it's going to be too difficult to enforce whatever's behind it. So they just they're not IP ban. You can go to the website, but it'll say oh yeah, and it is a power move because then I want to watch my porn.
To cut it off
let me go bitch in that.
So that people won't support further.
Yeah,
porn
people
bans.
complain. Yeah. I mean, it's all politics. Come on.
Let's go to Lactoid.
Couple points I have written down. So to Gibbs, I think Gibbs, you're probably the only one here that I would expect to say, well, skill issue, who cares? Because your view of capitalism is one where I think it's it's a little bit short.
Right.
It's a little bit short-sighted in the sense that the same capitalism that allows people to create things also allows us to critique them, right? And so, yes, it's perfectly within capitalism for people to I guess make this stuff, and it's also perfectly within capitalism for me to say, fuck that, that's wrong, that's immoral, don't go it, don't do it, don't consume it, or anything like that. Because again, as a consumer, I'm part of the market, I'm part of capitalism. And then along with that, both the supply and demand, I think, are at issue here. Consumers are a problem, just like producers are a problem. They can create a feedback loop to each other. Producers are trying to encourage more customers by propagating ads and social media, which they do. And then the consumers, the more people that get into it, create a more lucrative market, which then funnels money to the producers and makes more of a cash incentive for producers to exist and then also proliferate, et cetera, et cetera. Feedback loop grows, and before you know it, now you have all this ridiculousnly of OnlyFans advertisements on Twitter, which I understand Twitter is more of a older website, but website for older people. But it's all over the place. And I think it's a problem because I think not only is it a problem for adults, for a lot of that's okay.
Twitter's
Well, then there
13 plus, and then they
I didn't know that.
OnlyFans advertisements.
I didn't know that. That I think that backs up my argument even more. I think it's a problem for adults for a lot of the reasons that Aiko listed.
You're talking about barrier to entry, basically.
Well, I'm not just talking about barrier to entry. So I want to bifurcate this because I think all of us here can agree that it's bad for the kids, right? And let's not pretend like there's been any real substantive effort to prevent children from viewing this shit. I mean, I was 12 when I was exposed to the most hardcore shit, right? 2 girls, 1 cup, shit like that, right? Like the most hardcore shit that you can imagine, right? I was very young, and a lot of us here probably were, as well. It just is the case, and it's. I think it is a problem. I don't think it's good for developing.
They didn't have that in the library.
You still got a dare medal.
And I still got a dare medal. It's true, but I think it's also bad for adults for a lot of the reasons that Aiko mentions. And tying this all back in, much like other things that we criticize, like smoking, like perhaps riding a motorcycle, I think that it's perfectly fair to say, adults, this is bad for you. Don't do it. It leads to bad outcomes. And you could say, fuck you, it's my right to do it. All well and done. You're right. It is your right to do it. It's your right to view it. Fine. But we can criticize you for doing it, and we can be in the right if this thing leads to bad outcomes, which it does. Same thing with smoking, same thing with drinking, same thing with drug use. It's just generally not a good thing to do, and we shouldn't be encouraging it.
And motorcycle use.
Okay, so
No, that's so much fun, though. It's different. It's so much fun. You don't even know, Corey. It's way better than sex.
let's go to Corey.
Yes, after their bike.
We're gonna go to Corey, then Aiko, then I'm gonna jump in as well because this is killing me. I really want to fight. But yeah, Corey, please.
Yeah, so Lactoid did address a point that I did want to make of, like, there seems to be like a lot of effort to like who to assign blame to, either the groups of men or the woman. Could be, I argue, like both in terms of culpability, where again, overall it's just a poor reflection of society, where like, because yes, you can say that it's this amorphous 100 men or so, like whatever, to blame, but also there's also the fact that, again, who is almost certainly, I don't know for sure, I haven't looked at the demographics, but I'm pretty sure most of the people consuming that OnlyFans content is like 99% men. Okay, and so like
it's mostly married men, according to their own statistics.
And I don't think that makes it any better, but I think that proves my point of like, yes, if it wasn't,
the
these people there weren't consuming it. There's a reason why blockbusters aren't around anymore, because there's no demand for it anymore. Because like, yes, if the market's not there, it's not going to survive. And so yes, what does it say about the culture if like, yes, you have tens of thousands, millions of married men potentially consuming this type of content? Now, do I think this is like potentially a moral question, or is this morally loaded? I don't necessarily come from that angle. I just more view this as whatever, healthy versus unhealthy, and psychologically healthy versus unhealthy. Like same thing with like food. Of like, yes, I'm not going to morally judge someone for like eating a Big Mac or riding a motorcycle, but I can say that it's probably not either psychologically healthy or good for your long-term health. And that is what I think I should, or the focus should be on that. And I'll just quickly address, let's say, iCow, what he brought up in terms of the data. So I'm gonna sit through the papers that you sent iCow, which I appreciate. Be on that. But I'll just say that based off the data that I've seen, let's say the best analogy that I can come up with is like data, social media. I'm trying to determine the effects of social media use on youth. Where there's a lot of variables, and like, there's some evidence showing that there is harms to youth and teenagers, but I think it's not quite crystal clear. I mean, it's not to me, regardless of what Jonathan Haidt says. But there's totally, almost certainly, there is absolutely, almost certainly a subset of adolescents and youth that are negatively affected by social media. But yeah, I don't think we have quite fully teased that out, and I think the same thing is true of porn.
You guys don't realize how funny Corey's joke was.
I like Jonathan Haidt. I think I don't get the joke, but I like him.
Of course,
you read his research, you'll understand why. He makes a lot of assumptions.
Let's go to Aiko.
Well, so I'm glad Corey makes a comparison with social media, because I kind of want to go in that direction as well. Because when Lactoid says that, okay, yeah, capitalism may be responsible or be the mechanism that like produces porn, it's also capitalism that critiques porn. I suppose to the extent that it's possible to sell an article that criticizes porn, it's not going to really do anything to stop it, right? Like that's really not the function of capitalism. Capitalism will reward anybody who can find an audience, and you're not going to really shrink that audience by critiquing porn. It seems the only solutions that are only starting to be presented have to do with state power. It has to do with states like Texas trying to age verify people who are online to protect children, right? It's something conservatives are doing, but they're having to use state power to do it because there's not really a way to use capitalism to do that, right? Because the thing that checks capitalism, there are very few things that check it, but to some degree, the state can check capitalism at least a little bit, and that's what they're sort of trying to do. Capitalism, like, I understand that people use free speech in the context of capitalism, right? But free speech isn't really something that capitalism can use in order to regulate behavior. I don't even think the church can do that either. I think that's we're having to find a solution to this that is as elusive as regulating social media might be at some point, right? Because what social media is making us do, something similar to what with porn is making us do, is it's rewarding anything that's controversial. It doesn't matter if somebody clicks on something or engages with something you do because they agree with it or because they disagree with it. In fact, rage baiting is one of the most profitable things to do on the internet right now, and it's tearing our society apart. And I think that there's a reason why Twitter, for instance, has a lot of rage baiting and a lot of porn, because they're two very similar phenomena where things that are not necessarily good for society are rewarding the very people that are doing it. And we've got to find a solution for both.
All right, so I see your hand. I think Grid, your hand is up. And then also Gibbs. All right, I'm gonna go first, and I'm gonna address Grid at some point too. So you can address that as well. Yeah. So I think you what's happening with Bonnie and Lily, right? Uh, I think that's this is like a neutral event happening within our culture, meaning like morally neutral. I don't think it says anything positive or negative. It simply is. It I think it's an outgrowth of social media that it happened in the first place. Um, uh, and maybe there's something more to critique there, or on a more general sense. Um, but like in terms of individuals who have agreed to, um, uh, you know, uh, get together, right, and do this particular activity, which hurts no one, yeah, then it's a morally neutral thing. I think there is a lot of armchair psychology happening, a whole bunch. We get a tiny clip where this woman, in terms of Lily, right, Lily Phillips, which she tears up, and now all of a sudden people can say, oh yeah, she's disassociating, that she's so deeply hurt by this thing, that she is going to repeat times tens. Clearly this woman, right? Like taking all agency away from her. Clearly, yes, she was gang raped, right? This is experience that is equivalent to gang rape, which is what Scott said previously. What horseshit is that? Like, like actually looking at what rape is, and then comparing that to this event, completely voluntary, where the individuals on the other side of it, like sought this woman out, right? Like to compare that to gang rape, and then to particular way is like morally atrocious. That's the most morally atrocious thing that's happened here so far. But yeah, there's a lot of armchair psychology here. People are pretending like they have some sort of insight into this person's character. I get that you guys aren't for this behavior. I'm not sure, I'm not like trying to encourage anyone to do this particular thing or discourage anyone, right? Like I leave it up to you. If it's not hurting anyone, if it's these two individuals, that's okay. So I'm taking a different tack from other people who are saying this is not an important or not a relevant moral question. I mean, I think it's relevant to the conversation. I just think the answer is it's neutral. Um, I think. Oh yeah, and this is to Grid that I'm assuming you are being hyperbolic. I want to assume, Grid, that you were being hyperbolic when you said the problem of. I think it was porn. I think it was porn in general, and maybe this was this incident specifically, but porn in general is a real world problem bigger than any other. Like, what nonsense is this? Like, again, I hope that was hyperbolic. On the day, right, we had like another mass shooting in our country, right, like in a school, right, like from a country that is sponsoring an ongoing genocide, like as we speak, for a country that has where medical debt is the reason why the number one reason why people go to bankruptcy. That porn would be the number one problem. Like again, I'm just going to assume you can correct me later. If you meant that literally, if you actually meant that was no, no, actually it isn't. We can go down the line and look at the things that are killing. We we can go. I think it'd be a problem. No, I think it's a problem. I agree with everyone here. I don't think anyone disagrees that like we shouldn't let minors watch porn. We should find ways. In fact, we've discussed this on this channel many times before as to like an actual workable system to handle that. We actually like came up with a system. This is like years ago, but we've talked about this subject many times. Like a workable system to implement to make that happen. I think it's a possibility, and we should make strides in that realm. But even as it stands, of course it's not the worst thing that kids have to face. Hell no. Even in the realm of social media, even like they could stick there, right? Like a greater threat would be there is I forget the name. There's a specific name for this, but like it's kind of like a catfishing scheme where people from like these developing countries are pretending to be like attractive individuals. All right, like if you're like they're trying to attract a young teenage boy, they'll be trying to be a young teenage girl, and then they'll hook them, and then they'll get that kid to send a nude, right? And then they'll blackmail them and try to get money out of those individuals. That's actually caused kids to like kill themselves. I would say that's right there, a greater danger than porn in its entirety, right? But there's so many other dangers that our children face. Of course, I wouldn't say that's number one. That'd be ridiculous.
I also don't think porn
Uh,
is that big as far as like children. Yeah, no, we obviously we shouldn't encourage it. Like I'm fine with the laws being where they are now, related to like who consumes porn. But like in all honesty, like walking if I had like a 14-year-old or 15-year-old, me walking in the room and figuring out like, oh, okay, they're watching porn, wouldn't be like, oh god, it's time we have a crazy situation. If anything, I honestly feel like it's more dangerous for someone to turn 18 and their only like visual experience or relationship with sex is like sex ed. I don't. I'm not saying you have to actually be out there having sex, but I'm saying that like, yeah, I think it probably some natural level into like a healthy developing like young adult probably watches porn somewhere in their mid to
so
late teens.
let
Can
me
I
finish. Let me
can I
finish up.
respond after this? Because
Well,
you
we
called me out
actually,
directly.
yeah, I know. Don't worry, don't worry. And you'll get to respond. But we do have other people online. Write it down, and you get to respond to what I say.
Yeah, no,
And
I
actually,
wrote it down. It's just like you called it out.
Lactoid.
It's-
Yeah, I
sometimes people
absolutely will give
forget
you. I will
because you just skip
absolutely.
around.
You know, you always get a chance to talk. It doesn't matter if I forget, Scott. You will make your presence known always. Anyway,
Yeah, no, I'm
but
cool with it. I'm just pointing out
okay.
that you called
Well,
me out, and we've got to wait to
I
respond.
did call you out, and I want everyone to know I called Scott out, but I'll give him a chance to
Hmm.
talk. After that, we'll go to it was a grid. Aiko, Scott, and then Lactoid,
Just me at the
Roy,
end.
and
Well,
Bam.
well let
But anyway,
let
so let me
Scott go
finish up
ahead.
what I was.
I don't have to. I can go after him. That's fine.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
Aiko,
Let Grid
I
go
said
then.
you as well, but don't worry. So anyway, I hate this idea of shaming. Like I think it's funny from the individuals who are well, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't go this hard. But I think
Shaming is part of
oftentimes,
capitalism.
yeah, sure, fair enough. I think oftentimes people want to pretend that they are actually accepting of these activities, and that oh yeah, we'll allow them to happen But they are actually just as bad as the individuals who would use state power to to keep these things from happening, right? They will heap shame upon these other individuals, right? And shame, which can be turned into violence, right? Either violence of society against that individual, or that individual hurting themselves because of the shame that's being heaped on them, right? I think that's just like a backroom way of accomplishing the exact same thing. But that's fine, whatever. And again, this I've already kind of addressed this with Grid, but Lactoid said something similar. Like, what nonsense is this? That porn is worse than drugs or like traffic accidents.
Wait,
Like,
wait, wait, wait,
honestly,
wait, 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 wait,
Lactoid,
wait, wait.
like,
Hold on.
Wait, 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 wait.
I gotta wait to respond.
I
I gotta wait. So
I rose my hand first, though.
I've
just to
been
be
my
clear.
hand's been raised longer than all y'all, so I don't want to hear
Nah,
nothing.
that was bullshit that was just said. Okay, that's not what I said.
Yeah, he said a lot of bullshit about me too.
If
But
I misunderstood what you said, then I do apologize. And maybe
yes, just to be clear, I was putting it in the same category
Am I
of
the only one who
vices.
didn't get called out?
I was putting it in the same category of vices.
Yeah,
okay?
I won.
I'm not saying it's necessarily the worst thing. I think there are other things that are worse. I think it's within this category of vices that is generally bad. And I agree with Grid that it is bad. Do I think it's the worst thing facing children? I don't. But I do think it's bad. And just by the way, when you're saying that we're playing armchair psychologist, I mean, to be fair, we're all playing armchair, like analyzing this kind of. I mean, we're here on a panel. And I don't have to be an armchair. I don't have to be a psychologist to, like, if I see somebody on the bus shaking and calling himself Jesus, he might have something wrong with him. And when this girl's crying and having this disassociation and this 1,000-yard stare, she's probably a little fucked up. I don't know.
She could have just had low electrolytes. Come on, let's just. She could have just
possible.
been low electrolytes. She needed to hydrate, bro.
I'm not on an armchair.
She needed to hydrate.
It's not just that you point out
My chair has no arms. Look at
a symptom, right? Which is one thing. Hey, these are these symptoms. No, a diagnosis. She's disassociating, guys. Nonsense. Also, but no, you didn't escape Ali, right? Fuck you.
What'd I do?
Whoa.
Yeah, what'd I do?
Keeping shame on the men who participated. No, they're
Fuck
fine.
yeah.
They're absolutely fine, right? Like,
No,
these
no, they're not.
They were offered a service. They took advantage of that service.
No, they got used.
It was between these two consenting
Definitely
adults.
took advantage,
Nothing to
yeah.
be shamed.
They got used. They did not take advantage of anything.
They got used and they used.
Don't make me agree with Lactoid. Don't make me agree with Lactoid and say that they got taken advantage of.
Come on,
Don't make
Ali.
me do it.
Agree with me. Do it.
Well, Lactoid is
Come to the dark side.
Used. Okay.
We are out of
Bullshit. All right.
cookies, though.
No. They got used like dogs.
You guys can respond later on. Let's go.
They didn't even get paid, bro. They got used. They didn't even get paid.
Or no.
So yeah, that's how all volunteer work. So let's all look at volunteer
This
work.
volunteer
It was a volunteer work?
Well, yes, they volunteered.
I'm not gonna make you hundreds of thousands of dollars, so don't even throw me $20 for
It
my
was a
time.
mutual exchange. They enjoyed what they did.
They
Yes,
did
they
free
They
work.
volunteered, but
Yeah.
it wasn't work.
don't worry, I'm writing down all the bullshit. I'll wait my
Right.
turn.
Also,
All
no,
right,
they
roll
didn't
with it,
enjoy what they
Sky.
did.
Roll. Come on, man.
A lot of them,
I
a
see.
lot of them
you.
were sad. A lot of them were sad that they only got to spend 90 seconds with her, so they did not enjoy what they did.
They didn't enjoy it enough. That's what you're saying.
It's like
That's
someone.
like 70 seconds extra.
Please
That's 70
tip your
seconds too long.
server.
Have I dog?
Let's go to Aiko. Sorry, not Aiko. Sorry, Gibbs. Sorry, Gibbs.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. First off, I want to argue with my libertarian cohort here. This means more entrepreneurship for to more people than ever before. People are willing to work and do something others aren't, and they're being rewarded by the market. This is the epitome of capitalism.
You said you would sell guns to a mass shooter.
Sure, that's fine. Lactoid, as stated, you
And a
stated
child
earlier,
killer.
monetary value directly reflects moral superiority. Thus, by his own metric, successful stars in the industry should be praised. All right, that's Lactoid. Now, let's move on. We can argue about a lot of things, but I want to change the convo here a little bit and talk about the real evil here that we're not talking about. And the real evil here is the leftists. Now, when I say the leftists, I mean whatever special snowflake group y'all want to subdivide into. A major reason people are turning to OnlyFans and other similar platforms is because the left has utterly crashed the economy, forcing people to look for other opportunities. Bidenomics is just the gig economy. This is just a gig. Technology has enabled more people to make more money than ever before. This is not some kind of great moral quandary like my libertarian associates here are trying to make it. Prostitution is the world's oldest profession. And so now we actually have someone we can blame for this, and it's Biden and all you lefties that have destroyed the economy with overregulation and now have forced hardworking single mothers into OnlyFans because y'all hate making money. It's really y'all's fault. Now live in y'all's problems.
But do you have a direct response to him, Aiko?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Biden. Okay.
I just want to point out, just for future panels, that this is a Gibbs prediction, right? So Trump swears in next month. What he's saying is that in the next couple of years, as the economy goes up, because of Trump's masterful handling of the economy, porn numbers are going to plummet.
I did not say that. Hold on. Now that the market's already there, hopefully he cultivates the market like a smart,
Project 2025 is going to ban
Like a
porn, by
project
the way,
manager.
so-
Well, but and we'll see.
CEO that
4
shit.
years, no porn.
Well, hey, either way, I win on this one.
Soy, I just quickly, Soy Adol, thank you for 300 bits. He said banning porn gives more social power to traditional women and gay men. Red Pill has played you for fools. Join Team Gunner. Thank you, Soy Adol, for the 300 bits. It's really kind of you. Let's go to Scott. I think Grid said you want to go after Scott, right? And then we'll go
Let Scott go ahead of me. I won't.
And then me last.
And then Bam want to go, right? And then Ollie.
Yeah, so a couple of things. First of all, the idea that you would, I think you were insinuating this concept that I'm armchair psychologist. Actually trained in counseling. I didn't give any diagnosis. I did say that there
intellectual. Sorry, that's more intellectual.
Well, regardless, I did bring up the disassociation as a common trauma response, and I did bring it up. Now, again, I'm not diagnosing anyone here. I want to make it very clear that I did not make a diagnosis of any individual. I said that this is a common trauma response, and that's what it appears to be, number one. Number two, that's not a diagnosis. That's a symptom. I never gave any diagnosis or even hinted at one, right? I never said this is BPD or that, this is PTSD or that this is, acute syndrome or any of these things. I simply said that this is a trauma response that is common amongst people that are survivors of rape, especially. Now, when you say that it's ridiculous and that it's evil and that it's wrong that I compare this thing to gang rape, that is absolutely, completely unfair that I be able to do that. Number one, comparing two things does not mean that they're the same thing. I would not claim that Lily Phillips was gang raped because of this situation. I will say, however, that there are similarities in the trauma that is common amongst these two things that we can see. Number one, multiple sex partners, a massive amount of sexual partners to the point where she can't differentiate between one and the other is something that you see that is similar with gang rape. Not only that, it has the same thing in the literature when we talk about the ability to pair bond and the ability to be able to move on from those sexual experiences. Obviously, gang rape is worse in that regard. I brought up the disassociation and knowing it. There's other videos as well beyond the one that was talked about how she was physically hurt, how her body felt bad, about how she was bitten without her consent on her lip and had to warn people that biting was not herpes or anything, but that someone got a little too rough with her. Now that wasn't part of a consensual thing, but it's something that she assumed was par for the course because of what was going on, and she was in it, and she again disassociated any level of non-consent with that practice. Now, the idea that saying that libertarianism is somehow just as bad as utilizing state power to stop it because the downstream effects of shame could come to suicide or could lead this person to feel ostracized is absolutely and utterly insane of a thing to say. That the locking someone up in jail and making something illegal, and then the downstream effects of that are things like sex trafficking, things like the black market that will be created by making things illegal. And on top of that, the fact that you actually use violence and put people in jail and ruin their lives and make it difficult for them to have employment. These are wildly different things. As well, libertarianism, as Hoppe says, and as I will say again, is inherently right-wing and discriminatory. Yes, if you are a full-blown ANCAP and you are a full-blown libertarian, you will recognize that you do need to utilize things such as voluntary contracts to keep the people that you don't want in your fucking community or that you don't want to do business with out of your community and stop doing business with them. And lastly, to many of the people that are claiming that are having this conversation about how this is capitalism's fault, and that I would like to reiterate and add context to what Lactoid was saying about capitalism also offers the ability for critique. You know, iCal Rich, you talked about the critique and the concept of, you know, writing an article and how that article isn't going to have the same effect as the porn, and the idea that men have these lustful desires and that one effect is stronger than the other. I agree with you. That is true in terms of an article, but I think maybe you're downplaying it because we can see a massive cultural shift that has occurred in the last year or two. There's a lot of ortho bros coming out of the woodwork. There's a lot of Gen Z young men that are changing their opinions because of the mass degeneracy in society. And secondly, there's more that capitalism can do than just write articles. You can go right now and you can Google Bark app. And what you can do right now for $39 a month, or the better plan is $49 a month, you can get a free phone for your child. Well, it's free. I mean, it's not really free because it's included in the subscription. But if you buy a contract for your child, you can get a specific phone where you can approve and deny contacts, where you can stop all texts from being deleted on the phone, where you can put in a driving mode, where you can disable the camera so that they don't send nude selfies or receive certain images. You can pause the device at any moment if there's a reason that you need to pause the device while still being able to contact emergency contacts. You can shut off the ability for voicemail so that phishing attempts and scams and so that creeps don't send voicemails to your children. And for the $49 a month one, you can actually get screen recordings whenever you so choose to look in exactly on what your child is doing on the phone. You can approve which apps you can and can't use on the phone. And you can also set up screen time locks and other aspects. So yes, capitalism does give us porn because that's what people value. And at the same time, if you are a parent and you value safety and security and making sure that your children aren't going on to porn, capitalism offers you that solution too. Capitalism is amoral in this aspect. What we're talking about is a cultural problem. And when the culture is rotten with degeneracy, capitalism provides the solutions for the very things that we want. And we are talking about a moral issue where we have to have cultural enforcement, which includes shame, but also includes the things that we value and putting those values forward so that capitalism offers us those same things as we value, such as Bark, as I stated, where you can have all of the parental controls and you don't need state power and violence.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I was called out by a whole bunch of shit, so there, I'm
done. Dissociation is a disorder, and you were diagnosed.
No, dissociative disorder is not the same thing as disassociation. Trust me on this. I'm very well read on this literature.
You can diagnose the trauma itself, the response, and the disorder. So
I specifically said a trauma response.
Yes,
I specifically said a trauma response.
What did I just said? Because you didn't listen to the words I just said. It's a trauma response, yes, and you can diagnose both the trauma response and the disorder. You absolutely can do that.
I've literally gone to grad school for this, my friend. I never claimed to give her a disorder. I said that it is a response that we see in victims.
Again, you literally didn't listen. I said just now, the disorder, yes, there's a disorder. That's a category, but then it's a trauma response. Understood. Two different things. I'm saying you can diagnose.
You accuse me of giving diagnoses, and you accuse me of armchair psychology. Right? I've actually studied this shit. I didn't do that. I didn't fucking do that. You absolutely did. Don't try and lie about it now. You absolutely accused me of armchair psychology.
The words I'm saying, but it's okay.
Yes, because you're moving the goalposts now that I've proven you
wrong.
wrong.
Not moving the goalposts whatsoever. But Iko, you have a quick. Do you have a?
You need to
direct
take
Just
it
wanted to
back.
respond-
I did not
No, I
do
will
that.
not take it
It's
back.
illegal.
It's absolutely
It's
right.
illegal for me to do that.
You actually, I'm ignoring you right now.
It's
Go ahead.
literally illegal for me to do that. I
hold
can
on,
get in
shut
actual
up.
trouble for that.
Shut up, because Iko, do you have a direct response to
Yeah, I just want to respond to the capitalism sort of defense that Scott gave. I do agree that apps like that can be part of the solution. I don't think that solution matches the problem. I think that's one of the issues that I have with that, because you still need, you can't force every parent in America to use that app, or you could, but you would have to do it with state power or with maybe an overwhelming social pressure to do so, which I don't think we're going to get to the point where that happens. I think you would have to have some methodology for that. And listen, Scott, I know you're a professional, and I know that you're trained in this stuff. So I can only assume that if you see a parent that's doing something that's unhealthy for a child to the point of it affecting them in a major way, which we would all call abuse, you would do something to stop it that was not necessarily something that's voluntary for the parent, right? You would,
legally speaking, like I would be a mandated reporter in that situation. Like,
yeah, there you
like
go.
I
So
wouldn't
you
even
would have to
legally be
use
allowed
state
not
power
to.
in that instance. And I understand that professionally that there are times when state power really is the only option, or at least is the best option. And all I'm
Well, it's the
saying
only
is
option
that
because they have a monopoly on power and violence, right? So if I need someone to use violence to stop abuse, I can't use a private security firm, right? The state is the only arbiter in America for that avenue. So yes, I would utilize state power in that evidence because they've already stolen the right of people to being able to utilize utilize power to step in for victims in that regard.
yeah,
Right? It's
sure.
not a contradiction.
We live in our current society, so we're gonna have to talk about it in terms of the current society. But I agree. Like, I'm not sure I agree with you that like corporations should have that power of
Hey,
and violence.
pause
But-
for a quick second.
Yeah.
For a quick second. Brian Tyler Cohen, thank
Ooh.
you for the raid, the second raid. Hey, I'm not sure if you're still here, but thank you for raiding last week. I have a 100-person raid this time, and a 100-person last time as well. Thank you for the very kind raid. You followed the channel last week. Again, I'm not sure if you're still here, but it's really, really kind of you. Hopefully, I can. Oh, Brian Tyler. Oh, yeah, you are here. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, Brian, I sent you a message on Twitch last week as a thank you. But if you're ever looking to work together with a small creator like myself, I would love to be able to do that. I'm not sure the best way to contact you, whether on Twitch, Twitter, or Discord. But if that's something you might be interested in the future, I would really love to be able to do that. But thank you for the very kind raid. And if you're here from his stream, please be so kind as to follow the channel. We are talking about the OnlyFans situations with Bonnie Blue, the one who was having sex with a bunch of 18-year-old boys in Australia, and Lily Phillips, who had sex with 100 men, and has promised to have sex with 1,000. So we'll see. We'll respond to your DM. Okay, thank you, BTC. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's really, really kind of you. We'll talk to you hopefully soon. But yeah, so hit the follow button. And I'm also on YouTube, Exponential Socials. So if you prefer watching on YouTube, you can also do that as well. I should get rid of the TikTok thing. My TikTok account was actually banned. I put like 2 videos on, and then they immediately banned.
I was there for 4 hours.
Yeah, it was like gone. So I should
TikTok's
actually,
a tough one.
I did that out. But
Isn't TikTok about to be banned anyways?
maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't
That
In
matter.
ain't
theory,
going
they're banned in
nowhere.
January. Yeah.
Yeah, but thank you for the kind raiders. Please stick around. Yeah, again, we're talking about the OnlyFans situation, whether this is a symptom of a larger problem of our society. Like the fact that these 2 creators did this thing, right? Who have become famous for these stunts. Or maybe it's morally neutral or whatever, right? So that's what we're talking about right now. Please stick around, hit the follow button. I haven't done so yet. I'm okay. So I'm sorry for interrupting Iko and
Yeah, that's good. The last thing I was going to say on that, I think I got most of what I wanted out there, but I'll just say that things like the ARC app are able to protect individuals, and that's why I think it's good. I'm not sure that they'll be used to the extent that it would take to protect society at large. That's it.
May I respond to that quickly?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, no, like I don't disagree with anything that you said in terms of like the descriptive is, right? Like, you know, like my qualm is with using state power to regulate things. I agree that you might have you might have a larger number of children stopped from viewing porn if you utilize state power. My issue with this is with all state power is the unintended consequences, right? So it's like you can do the BARC app and we can essentially guarantee limited or almost no deleterious effects of that because the individual parent is choosing to protect the individual child and is actively involved in the situation, and we ought to increase social pressure to have this be more common. But when you utilize state power, you don't know what the downstream effects of that are. And as I stated before, some of those things are going to be an increase in child sex trafficking, an increase of like child pornography, new ways for abusers to find new avenues. So like that are harder for parents to actually keep track of. Right. And so the balance here is not so much about which one has a larger immediate effect, but more about the overall arcing understanding that when state power is used, but the culture still has a want, a desire, so has a demand for something, that demand doesn't disappear just because the state gets involved. Some of it does, right? Because their values change, but some of that demand doesn't go away, and all you've done is created a new form of prohibition. And I don't want to see the horrors of a new prohibition and what that might entail.
Yeah, no, well, listen, I agree that there are unintended consequences, right? But I think this is where you and I agree on a more fundamental level, disagree on a more fundamental level, is that I think that just means we need to do a better consequential analysis. Whereas you just did a consequential analysis, but by and large, you don't really want to do them because you want to do things on the basis of values instead. But I think that if we're starting to now step into a world where there's unintended consequences that we want to avoid, I think we then have to look at consequences. And that list of studies that I gave to Corey, starts to outline some of those. And I just don't
that's not that's not true. I have no issue with consequentialism. I mean, my primary philosophy is objectivism.
Who was next in the queue?
Insofar as those consequences are not logically unjustifiable, which would be the violations of the non-aggression principle. Again, the descriptive is of the non-aggression principle and backing of that says nothing to do about what we ought to do. And when we go into the domain of what we ought to do, consequences, just like deontological, moral frameworks, are both valid frameworks that I can't prove to be logically unjustifiable. And thus, I have no issue with utilizing consequences in that. It's when you say that you can violate the NAP that I start getting into like, hey, I start doing an internal critique of your system of valuing consequences above those principles and saying, look, like here's some of those potential downstream consequences.
So I'll just ask real quick, is stopping children from accessing porn using state power, is that aggression?
Well, it depends on what you mean by stopping it, right?
Doing what Texas does, requiring an ID. Proof of age.
I think proof of age is doing that. However, on the inverse of that, which is being able to prosecute them for not, for negligence, utilizing state power wouldn't be, right? So forcing the company to use a specific method of proof of age would be a violation of the NAP, but the downstream, you could achieve the same thing without violating the NAP by simply charging them with a crime, right? Which is giving access to children without proof of age. So I mean, it's kind of you could essentially do the same thing, but you'd have to do it via legal process afterwards from an actual victim.
Okay, sounds reasonable.
But for everyone else, because people new here aren't going to know what the hell you guys were talking about. When they say the NAP, we're talking about the non-aggression principle. Our friend Scott here, I'm not sure if he's the first one on other people's screens, but Scott, that one, right? Yeah, Scott, he is a anarcho-capitalist, and that's a big important thing for them, the non-aggression principle.
He's a fan of naps.
And they like naps. They're big into naps as well.
Naps are good. Naps are good. You should take naps. All right. Naps are good.
Let's go to our friend Grid, and then Lactoid, Corey, Bam, and
We'll be right back.
All right, great. Thanks. Appreciate that. Wow. That was interesting. I liked it. But it really doesn't give we can talk about these two specific cases, right? Which I think is good. When we talk about it overall, my biggest concern, which is actually, I think what you heard me say, is my biggest concern in this is the children, not that porn is the biggest problem facing children. But I will say that it is a large one, and I think that it is a root of many other problems that young people end up facing, right? Because they have unreasonable expectations to live up to or out of society, and it puts a very weird slant into their brain at a very young age as to what reality is and isn't. And there are problems with that. And I leave it to people better than me to define those problems, but I can at least acknowledge there are problems with it. As far as this idea of restriction and banning and all of that, I still cannot come up with as much as I just hate the idea of banning things. So to me, that's a really bad road to go down at any moment in time ever. And we should never do it unless there's a way that we can do it cleanly, and there is no way to do it cleanly in this regard. So therefore, the best we can do is, the same old education, control access to some degree. And I think that's one of the reasons why OF became so popular so fast, is because a lot of people really didn't associate it with pornography to start. And therefore, it grew very, very fast and became nothing but really. Remember, originally it was go there to learn how to cook, take a lesson in psychology. So what's that?
It was originally OnlyFans was supposed to be a PayPal alternative.
Right. Yeah. And so you can still go there to learn how to cook, but how many people really do?
They're trying to push away from it, but it just won't work.
Well, I do think that OF is having issues because, again, only the top 1% actually make any real money. Everybody else is barely making anything.
Hold on. When you say
the
that,
average,
that's
the average
not
is
true.
like $185 a month. That's the average.
So okay, hold on.
$185 a month, bro.
Hold on. There's a problem when you start doing that statistic, right? All right. So sure, there's had like for the top 16,000 making like 50,000 or something a month, or 50,000 a year, and then you have a few like top like 300 that are millionaires a month or whatever.
Sure.
Now here's what you're not getting. This is kind of why I like meaningly brought up the left earlier in the gig economy, is because most people are doing this like a gig. They go have their regular job, they throw it up, they go home, they take maybe do an OnlyFans set, they post their set, and like people pay their $5 and they get to see.
Yeah, well, where was I wrong in that?
Hold on, but you're arguing that they're only making like 186, right? Sure, but that's like on Twitch, right? Let's go use Twitch. In Twitch, only like 8% of people are affiliated, and of those, like 0.001%.
Actually, I don't know that because I don't pay any attention to Twitch, but. Sorry.
Okay, well, sure. Okay, same kind of concept. It's
Well,
like
you could donate.
It's like you have this wide discrepancy where it's like, one person gets on there one time on OnlyFans, posts one set, never makes any money, and
how does that change my point,
down.
Sir?
How does it? I mean,
I
don't know.
It doesn't change my point at all.
Hold on,
As a matter of fact, you're making my point for me. You're absolutely making my point for me.
I think you just don't understand what I'm saying.
There's a slight differentiation between your point because if you just look at the stats.
Yeah, the stats don't tell the whole story here.
Yeah, if you just look at the stats, you assume everyone's putting in the same amount of effort on the website.
No, I didn't assume any of that. I simply said that there are people that get into this thinking they're going to make 6 figures a month, and then they find out they don't. And that leads to other directions, which is real pornography. Like in a studio with like a bunch of weirdos.
Well, no, you have an opposite.
I should say hardcore.
There's a significant amount of people who do make a living off of OnlyFans and like sex work, but like I said, it's not because like every girl who gets on there is like has an understanding of doing that. But I even know women who have found success on it, and it does seem to be like don't get me wrong. There's some things that are out of your control. Like you have to be somewhat attractive, obviously, but it does seem to be honestly one of the more meritocracy, like almost like a meritocracy. There are women who have like a number of uploads. They do like heavy on responses to the people. They
There are also
like
girls that get money paid off the app.
yeah,
They
sure.
meet these people and they get paid off the app. It's not all through the app.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but I was just pointing
They
to
call
like
those
the idea of
whores,
like
so.
there's the women who are putting in, I don't know, quote unquote 40 hours a week, like they are having actually a lot of success. The reality is most girls that go on there and post like a picture of in their bathing suit, they're not actually expecting to make $100,000 off. Like they don't have that expectation off of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
the inverse of what he said was true as well. Like when he goes, "Oh, it's these people are going to go into porn because they're doing less well." It's more the opposite. The people that do well are going to go into the porn. They're going to go to the industry events. They're going to keep going there. It's just like with streaming. If you start doing better at streaming, you're more likely to go to the industry events as opposed to, "Oh, I'm a 3-viewer Andy and I'm never going to go to any event." Like why? Like that's like you're just going to make you like $10 and that's all you
That's
got.
how it works.
So, I see your hand. We'll get to you later. But yeah, I agree
This
with
will be
you.
fast. One sentence.
You okay? Go ahead. The one.
Okay.
Sentence.
You can avoid the problem that Gibbs pointed out about averages being skewed because of the people at the top, or I mean, the people at the bottom, by just looking at the median. And the median income is $500 a month.
Yeah, and so
$500
this
a month.
goes to
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
it's a
going to
lot.
say before. Like, I agree with everything.
It's a
that
lot
Dan
for a
said.
lot of people, man.
Yeah,
500
that's a
bucks a
lot.
month is a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah,
That's like an
Fair
Xbox
enough.
Series X.
yeah.
I mean, that's honestly a third of people's rent. That's a big deal, man.
That's exactly that, right? Because for so many people who use this, right, like sex work in general, right, not just OnlyFans, sex work in general is a path for people who are disabled or people who have who are in some way locked out of the regular workforce, the rest of the workforce. This is the path that they use, right? There's communities where they talk to each other. And it was like, yeah, I mean, this is how I pay my bills or this is my rent money, right? Like I need
Can I
this extra
can I
thing.
bridge this?
And I don't think that most people individuals actually, because this is the narrative that we see people talk about, like, oh yeah, most of these girls are stupid and they think, well, yes, I will be a millionaire, right? Like I just show my boobs and I equal a millionaire. But I don't think that's the actual case. There's some cohort of individuals, of course, obviously there's some cohort of individuals who do that. But like to like that's just like a way that ends up like demonizing the whole industry when it's like unnecessary. I think we should always, of course, like make it clear to people like what the reality is of anything they're going to get involved in. Absolutely. We should publish those stats, right? People should have a clear idea of it. But like, I don't think it's people are as foolish as many try to put it out there.
Let me bridge the gap here very quickly. I'll be
I think
very
we all
quick. I
got it. I
promise.
think we're all ready.
I mentioned this. I mentioned this earlier, right? This is the connection of social media plus the concept of OnlyFans, right? Grid is absolutely right, and it's true on the opposite end too, with like red pillars, right? There's an availability bias, right? You don't hear about the masses of girls that go on and don't do well, but instead you do hear about like that girl that made $43 million in 1 year on OnlyFans. And it's not to say that the girls are stupid so much as to say that the human brain is not designed around social media. The human brain is designed to see things in their environment and then generalize it to their life. And so when we see certain individuals gain a lot of attention, we tend to overvalue those individuals as part of the whole and generalize them over to the whole. So it's absolutely true that there are going to be plenty of girls that think they're going to do a lot better than realistically they're going to do because of that. And it's also true of like red pillars and men that they're going to see like all these girls and be like, look at all these whores on OnlyFans, when like it's a very small subset of the population.
But there's also
Lactoid, can we, Lactoid, do you have anything unique you want to jump in here? Because you already talked before.
I mean, I got a few things just to clarify.
Okay.
But I mean, if Bam wants to jump, if Bam wants to respond to that, All right. So, I mean, the 500 a month as a median is pretty crazy. I didn't actually know that it was that high. I think that kind of echo Corey a little bit. That's a negative reflection on our culture as a whole. And then going back to talking about shame, or I guess how capitalism can help affect this through shame. You know, I wasn't necessarily just talking about new technology, you know, in terms of Bark app or whatever. I was quite literally referring to social stigma, right? And shaming people who are engaging in activity that you don't like. You know, I think that, you know, state power is really reserved for instances where somebody's violating other people's consent or hurting somebody who can't consent. But for people who are engaging in consensual action with another person, I don't really feel comfortable using state power to stop them. But if they're doing something dumb, or if they're doing something risky to themselves, or something that I think is going to lead to bad outcomes, or leads to some kind of degeneration for society, I think shame is the best way to address that, because shame is really the only way within a free society to discourage people's actions in a way that doesn't infringe upon their rights, because they have rights too. They can do what they want, but we also don't want them to do the shit that leads to bad outcomes, aka shit like pornography or OnlyFans, stuff like
Wait,
that.
do we even agree that it's always a bad outcome? Like, because I feel like y'all all saying this is like,
Overall, I think it's a bad outcome.
a bad outcome. All this thing, and I'm sitting
For
here
like
just
the
like,
average,
Well,
yeah,
hold on,
I would
like-
prescribe it to the average individual.
Hold
yes.
on, because and I look at history. Some of the most hedonistic societies are some of the most successful.
They
So
all
that
fell.
would, to me, well, they all fell. Yeah, I mean, after thousands of years, you know, cool.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you know, like that's
Couple
that's a
hundred.
terrible argument.
Hold on,
You know,
hold
like,
on,
I mean-
hold on. Now back that bus up to the pretentious turnpike. Bro,
Yeah.
the United States is the longest running continuous
I take it back.
history.
Tennessee is the South.
It is. I told you.
I mean, we're not even like 500 years in. I don't
Yeah,
Dude,
we're like less than two. Yeah, we're like
you don't
200
have
years.
it.
That's what I'm
There's no
arguing. When I
1,000-year
look at
society,
Rome,
bro.
Rome is like one of the most hedonistic empires ever to exist. We can look at all sorts of. Which one do you
Rome
want to pick?
fell
Like the Vikings
multiple
Yeah,
times.
after 2,000 years.
It wasn't 2,000 years. It fell in like it fell like multiple
Eastern Roman
times.
Empire felt like it
But
ended
the
like
United
like
States has maintained
30
like a
years before
modern
Texas
constitution for longer.
I want to honestly,
one single
intellectually answer your question, Gibbs. Right? So
Okay.
you asked,
Wait,
can we
he get
prove
back
that it's
in
all
this.
right? You because I have the right answers. It's chill.
No, but we
So,
just want to let
Gibbs.
somebody else speak though. That's the only thing.
So Gibbs,
Hold on,
you
hold on,
asked,
hold
is
on.
it always wrong? Right? And
We
the,
have
the,
to
I don't think it's
the
always wrong. I
answer-
think it's
so
it's
your an-
wise.
the
It's
answer-
not wrong.
And he's
Right,
went
so-
three
so-
times since he
so
made through the
this
first
is-
two.
Yeah, it's cool, Bam. I know.
not.
Just
No one wants you to do it.
have better arguments, and you'll get more.
Nobody
speaking
can
time.
make
Okay,
arguments.
hold on.
I know you're just spurting.
But I guess I mean
Like,
my
you're
argument
just
basically is
derailing.
all these other empires have existed. We can look at the Vikings. We can look at the Romans.
Does
all
anybody
these
else
different all
have a
throughout.
genuine answer? Because
Hey, I don't think
let him
it's
go.
bad
Hold on.
things.
You can save your
Yeah, the Vikings, the best moral society to base our society off of. Yeah.
They were successful. They discovered all sorts of shit.
Yeah, they did more than just discover shit.
I'm just.
They were winning.
trying
They
to
were
actually
winning,
answer
bro.
the question.
Winning. That's
I
what
know,
they were
I
doing.
know. You're just trying. I know you're just trying to like hand us down the correct answer from on high, and we appreciate you, Scott. We love you, Scott. Right?
Well, if anybody has an actual fucking answer instead of just like
A lot of things, but you gotta let
Bam.
something slide.
Bam. Go ahead.
No? Okay. So when I think when we talk about these ideas of dealing, I guess going based off of like Toy saying the things about like shaming and discouraging in society, I don't think you can. I think there's things that we can discourage or say we don't recommend that have nothing to do with necessarily morality. Like I would discourage people who decided that they wanted to like take out a big loan from the bank, drop out of school, and go invest it in Bitcoin.
Yes.
Like not because I think that investing is like is morally wrong. Like, but I just think like, okay, just statistically based on the numbers, like it probably you're probably not going to lead to a best outcome for you.
Is that
But
discourage or shame?
I would shame the fuck out of anybody who
Yeah.
did that.
Well, I'm ignoring you.
And then what happened when they did it in 2015? They're rich as fuck now.
I would.
Just because you get lucky doesn't make it a good decision.
Well,
That was
I
a
would say
terrible
that's-
decision.
Hold on, that by your own metric,
Oh my
Lactoid, if you're rich from Bitcoin because of that, they're morally superior.
That was
Like,
one meme. I made a meme one time, and you're holding it against me.
I'm gonna get
Yeah,
yeah.
we
It's
will
a bad
for
one.
all time. But anyway, let's go.
Flip it.
Bam. Yeah. You
Yeah, so-
would shame a person?
I think so. Well, okay. Let me say this. I know I would shame people who advocate for it. Shame people who try to tell other people to do it. I find that behavior to be shameful. So I I don't know. Like, I don't know if it feels weirder calling shame for people who are susceptible to it, like to going to do a thing. And it's not, again, it's not because like, oh, it's a scam, because no, it's not a scam. There literally are going to be some people who find success from it. But we have to look at like outcomes overall and what, like what's good for society.
What if it was a scam, Bam? What if it was a scam? Let's say that you let's say a good friend of yours was like, hey, there's a new opportunity has been like presented to me. It's called Amway. It allows you to become an independent business owner, and you can sell products from your house. Is your it's not a pyramid scheme, man. It's actually a legitimate multi-level marketing company. Most of the money's made from marketing products, blah blah. And then this guy's going off. Like, are you telling me you're just going to sit there and just say nothing? No, I'm clowning on this guy partially because I want other people around this guy to not join what he's joining because it's bad for them. Mm-hmm. But also, I care for this guy. And I want him to feel bad about being part of this, so maybe he leaves and maybe it's a real job.
I would super shame, but if that's like an actual scam, because I got hit by one of those scams. I got hit by Wake Up Now, if y'all remember. That was like 2012, 2011, one of those.
Don't you wish someone was there to shame you out of it?
Well, yeah, but that was a legitimate scam. Like,
okay,
like I'm saying that like if I would have, I remember I got a Robinhood in like 2012. And started investing in Square because I remember like Cash App. I thought Cash App was the coolest thing in the world, and I was like, wow, this is kind of neat. Like, maybe I should put a bunch of money into this. And like some people told me like, no, don't put a bunch of money into this. Like, and if I would have, that would have went like, I would have made a lot of money. It's not like it's like the best stock in the world, but I would have like double, triple, quadrupled my money since then. But like.
Still, but hold on. But you would agree that like
it was a legitimate thing. But I understand why people told me not to, because like,
right, exactly. Right, like let's say your friend comes to you and is like, I am gonna take my entire life saving. Let's say it's $100,000. I'm gonna go to the casino. I'm gonna put it all on black. Mm-hmm. You should be shaming this guy so hard to not do it, and then let's say he does it and he wins. Oh, see, Bam, you were wrong, mm-hmm. But you weren't wrong because like the statistical probability of him winning. No. He just got absurdly lucky because what very well could have happened, higher percentage likelihood of happening, is that he loses everything.
Hold on, Maxwell. This is part of capitalism. My granddad had told me one time, it's better to be lucky than good. And that's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. No, I think the thing in that behavior is worth shaming is like because I have people who find me to be pessimistic. I consider myself to be realistic, a realist, just because I like whenever I go through situations, like I'm like, okay, I want to know what the reasonable outcome is, but I also want to like actually think through what a possible like really am I willing to deal with the worst outcome?
What are the risks?
Yeah, what are the risks? And there are people who legitimately like don't like to talk through risks because they feel like, man, you're down in the vibe. Like, why can't you just think more positive?
This is every client I've ever had. I had to explain risks to them, and they just don't like to talk. They don't like to hear that. They only talk about that.
Kind of like motorcycles.
Yeah. Again, the rewards.
I'd really like to hear Scott's
rewards
answer.
dramatically outweigh the risks. It's not even.
I'd really like to hear Scott's answer.
They're just like,
that'd be
they're
great.
deaf.
Can we hear Scott's
answer?
answer?
You can leave a child behind to have to live.
So Gibbs, when you talk about is this thing always wrong, right? The answer is that it can't always be wrong unless the thing itself is inherently wrong. And the only way that we can prove that something is inherently wrong is if it's logically unjustifiable. We can prove that, right? We can prove that violations of the non-aggression principle are inherently wrong because they're conflict-inducing. Prostitution and being a whore, being a slattern is not that, right? There are going to be some people, whether it be 1%, whether it be 0.1%, whether it be 10%, right? Where in the personal evaluation of their lives, where, what is of rational self-interest is actually going to be a net positive for them. Bam brought up this, a certain cohort of girls where he's like, why are you in college? You're so gorgeous that like you could just go to an NBA game and like marry an athlete, right? This is an outlier. Right? So in general, right, it would not be good for girls to like avoid ever going to college if they have a specific career track. Obviously, don't just like waste money there. But like if you have a specific career track, that is generally going to be better. So the question then becomes, well, what is the value of social pressure? And the value of social pressure as opposed to state power is that it creates a barrier to entry. Right? If you are one in a million girl, right? Where you are insanely gorgeous and your talents are looking good on photos and looking good on camera, right? You may be 1 in a million where this is still going to be better for you and your life and your own rational self-interest to engage in this behavior. But so when we say something, we say, well, generally it's a bad idea. So we put social pressure on it because we want there to be a high barrier to entry where most people don't get involved in this. And it's kind of the same thing with what they're talking about slightly with gambling, but the difference with gambling is pure chance. And in this, there's a whole bunch of different variables. So you're right. This is why we shouldn't use state power to stop something like this, because maybe just maybe there is a gorgeous girl who is very, very mentally resilient, right? Which is something that's difficult to test, but she may be that person. And maybe what she does is she goes out to sad, lonely, like incels or like, disabled people or something, right? And gives them some happiness. And in exchange for that, everybody is actually better off. But when we as a society don't create a barrier to entry, what we have is we have a fucking horde of whores that are trying to get fucking famous off of this, and we have all of these deleterious effects.
That should be
that
trademarked.
run down
Hold on, let me respond.
The Legion of Slatterns.
Hold on, it's not the Legion of Whores. It's the Legion of fucking baby back pussy bitches. That's what it is. And it's not the women. It's all these men that are sitting here. No, it's all these men that are limp dicks. They didn't fucking. They got participation trophies growing up. They didn't fucking learn how to be men. It's not these women's fault because they're skilled enough to take advantage of the market. It's an objectable reality, right? We can observe these people that didn't have access to capitalism before are reaping the rewards. And they're taking advantage of a group that should be.
They're reaping the souls of innocent men.
In fact, it's a net good that they're doing this because all these scrubs, all these scrubs are losers. And I'm tired of saying that anything else. They're fucking losers. They don't contribute to society. And if their best contribution is giving some hoochie mama a fucking bunch of money, then guess what? Good for that hoochie mama because her and her family have the money. Her friends got the money. She's got the money. Her kids got it. And they're going to spend that money better than these dumbasses that were spending on
that money comes from
Quick question. If I gave you a choice, right, between being a severe schizophrenic, where you need to be institutionalized because you cannot like fathomably exist in society, and said, but if you take that disease, I'm going to inflict you with this disease, but I'll give you $10 million. What is more valuable to you in that moment? Would you be a severe paranoid schizophrenic and get locked up in a mental institution for life for $10 million?
Well, I'll tell you this: it's going to depend on how many personalities we got. We can negotiate.
I was about to say
per personality.
No. The point is that you're incapable of functioning in society. Right, you will be institutionalized, and
we don't know. We don't.
In a cage.
Are you?
We don't know that he's not now.
To these women. I think at best,
that's not even a fair one-to-one analogy.
Sure, but I feel like at best we don't know. At best we don't know how these outcomes are going. Like people have already made it up in their mind.
How is this a one-to-one equation?
Women's lives are going to be ruined.
It's my logic isn't ruined because like
I'm not talking about your logic. I'm talking about the OnlyFans women. We're saying they're like, they're like doing this and they've like ruined their lives. Maybe they make $8,000. Like
maybe some of them make $8,000. Maybe
and then they go on and get a regular job and have kids.
This is a fucking thought experiment. This is a thought experiment, right? For you to at least admit to one principle. Right? That there's some level of psychological trauma, right, that is not worth a certain amount of money. Would you agree?
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
half with this is you're saying there is psychological trauma. Some of these people might just fucking enjoy it, bro. Like, what are you gonna do when you got some nasty fucker?
But no, you're not. You're not actually engaging with the logic here. The logic is this: if we accept that there is some level of psychological trauma that is not worth some level of money, okay?
Yeah.
Would you do it for $10? Would you do it for $10?
No, I wouldn't do it for $10.
Okay, so
I'm sure there's a number we could come to that I would do it for. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine to accept, right? Because not everybody is going to make whatever their number is that makes the psychological trauma worth it. Now, again, we can't quantify as of yet.
Yeah, it's all work. The market determines it. That's the whole point of capitalism.
Like some people feel like, wow, this job isn't worth the trauma it causes. But that's not new. We're not bringing anything new to society.
Right, but
there's an acknowledgement of the trauma.
Right, Right, but if you acknowledge that there is a certain level of trauma and that this is a long-term thing and that the money that you gain is a short-term thing, then
I
you
don't know
will
that there
acknowledge
is.
that for
I
the
don't need to
some-
acknowledge that there
the-
is some
oh my
trauma.
gosh.
That's the problem, Scott. You're making a presumption. Like, I would even argue some of these people might just fucking like it. Like, they're just like, oh,
Some-
by yours. Like,
some-
sure.
He
So, like,
acknowledges that.
sure. And
I
so what I'm
acknowledge
saying
that
is,
as well. I've already said that. Some,
I
it's like
understand that,
you're
but
I'm
ignoring
saying,
basic
but
logic.
so
that's what I'm saying. Like,
if
at best
that's
we don't know.
true,
That's what takes
yeah,
it back to like, at best we don't know. Like, and within years, 99% of women could be like fine with their experience.
Yeah, but the
Right,
point is
but
that it's true for any
acknowledge,
percentage.
if are you acknowledge, so you're okay, so I would believe that you are absolutely an outlier in terms of the evidence of acknowledging that there is that we don't know that there isn't any trauma, that there isn't any issues, right? Like, we can look at pair bonding, we can look at yes, it is difficult when you do social research, when you do psychological research, to be able to isolate variables. It's not like being in a laboratory environment where like you can tell exactly what water boils at, or you can tell like what happens when you mix two chemicals, because it's obviously an always repeatable process. There's a ton of variables, so we don't know to what degree it's traumatic, and it is highly unlikely, given what we know, that there is no negative side effects from regularly posting your
But
body.
what you're not
and
recognizing
your
is that just
images
because it's
online.
negative one regard, right, doesn't mean it can't be a positive in another. And so these two, like, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, it's
recognize
a
that.
net. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, be willing to accept, oh, it's always a net negative in these scenarios, or like in any
I'm
whenever
not
there's
saying
at
it's
least.
always
Yeah,
a net negative.
Yeah,
I said that
you know,
social shame works as a barrier to entry. So there is, the more social shame that you have, the less likely you have that an individual chooses to gain in this profession. So you can have a maximum amount of barrier to entry, right? Where an incredibly infinitesimally small amount of people will still go into this and accept the social stigma. You can have a very, you
But
can
aren't
have
you creating
no
the
social
trauma that you're seeking to avoid?
you're
Like the
creating
level of shame,
trauma
like
because-
people do this for
exactly
whores
what
who
you're
should
doing.
die. They should die in their whores. And then
And
like
if they didn't have that,
every day, you would probably create a really high barrier, but like you would probably also be creating a lot of drama for
yeah,
the people.
exactly. So much of this.
if you're engaged in aggression, you're absolutely doing that. But
well, that is shame. Is shaming somebody not aggression?
I love that point.
not
because
aggression.
That is in itself like
No, of course
well,
not.
the specific
most of
example
the
he gave
trauma.
was
If
about
there
killing.
is trauma,
It's a threat.
if there is trauma, right, then most of it is from social shame. It's from people saying that they're worthless, calling them all sorts of names or whatever, right? Of their families rejecting them. Like that's social shame. Is the issue. So you're saying like, well, this thing has these negative repercussions, right? But the negative repercussions are the ones that you are imposing on it. So
There's probably some
like,
outside
I
of
think
what the ones
I think we hear this. I
but-
think we hear this argument often, and the left, I think, very massively overvalues the potential trauma from social shame. We hear this all the time with trans issues, for example, where they say that the reason trans people have a difficult time and the reason their suicidality is so high is because of social shame and because of the issues that are downstream of that. And yet, trans people have a higher suicide rate than Jews in internment camps under Nazi occupation. Like, so obviously the social stigmatization of being trans is not as high as being a Jew in Nazi Germany, right? Like,
so hold on. Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
I
but-
don't disagree that shame can make people feel bad and then lead to
Sure.
negative
well,
effects.
Okay. Well, then let me narrow it down a bit more. Right. So we have like the negative outcomes that there's a bucket, right, of negative outcomes that come from sex work in general. Right. This is a non-in-person. Right. This isn't in-person sex work, so we can like remove STDs from it. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I guess
yeah,
still
it
do
ends
it
up
from another
alone.
actor, but like
101 men, Prime. You cannot remove STDs from this equation.
They were all screened.
There are STDs you cannot test for, like HPV in men.
Yeah, yeah,
True.
but hold on, but that can happen.
Get the
for-
HPV
and-
vaccine, I guess. I don't
and
know.
that can happen for
That only
regular
is vaccines against certain
sex.
strains.
Well, in fact, you're more likely to.
We
get
should
an
discourage
STD
promiscuity
than-
generally, yes.
No, hold on. Okay, see, that's another thing, but whatever. But I get that. I'm going to push that
Right.
aside.
I'm listening.
But you're going to hold on. Stop talking up. You're more likely to get an STD like through regular sex, right? Through civilians, because civilians don't test themselves, right? Most people aren't testing themselves in the way that porn stars are. Porn stars like generally have to test themselves every 2 weeks if they're actively working. And then the people that, like in this case, right, they're bringing outside individuals in, they require them to test, right? In other cases, people just don't test. So let's put that out there. So
I don't
anyway,
think that's statistically not true, though. What you just said.
I think
My understanding
the
is
logic of it, but
is
sex workers do have STDs at higher rates than the
yes, sex workers have porn stars have higher rates of STDs than the general population. Yes,
I'd love to get into that.
it's right on the Wikipedia.
I would love to look into that review.
That's leftist propaganda.
I like the framing
Yes,
as porn
This got
stars.
another point that
So,
matters.
so,
I'm sorry.
so when it makes the anti-leftist
That
point,
wasn't
you
the point.
know
He
it's
was making another
accurate.
point.
Let me finish my point. Fuck. But anyway, so we're gonna take away STDs for a second, right? But talking there would be shame, and then there is you saying some sort of psychological damage, right? Like would those be the two things you'd be focusing on here in terms of OnlyFans?
The issue with testing and understanding this, right, is that when you know that there's a level of shame, you can absolutely show that some level of shame is going to cause psychological downstream effects that are negative. I agree with you. The problem is that you can't. Okay, but the problem when talking about the effects of shame, right? The major issue is that you can't test the negative, right? So you can't test how many girls would have gone into the industry had this shame not existed.
No. How was it? But yeah, okay. So this is what happens when you interrupt the person. You don't know what they're trying to say.
You asked me to clarify, and then I clarified my position.
I just asked.
I didn't interrupt you.
Are those the two outcomes that you were talking about? That's all I asked. Right? Yes or no? Shame.
Yes, and then I clarified.
Okay,
I clarified those metrics.
Great. So if we're moving out the social shame, right, which of course does cause downstream psychological effects, we're going to remove all that. We can say that there might be some sort of negative psychological outcomes that happen independent of social shame.
I'll be in a second.
So my problem is in this conversation is how do we measure how many individuals suffer one versus the other, right? Is it the case social shame is independently greater than these other negative psychological effects, or vice versa? We don't actually know, right? And it seems like
I agree.
And the lack of
Guys, I'm going to have to drop off for a few minutes, but I'm going to leave this running. So hopefully I can get back out here and end it. But give me just a second.
Might not be.
I'll be back.
Agreed. But see, the problem is when you reverse the argument, right? Because we don't know, because we cannot perfectly quantify the damages of the porn industry, right, versus the damages of the shame in being in the porn industry, because we can't perfectly know that, then if your argument is then we ought not shame them because we don't know whether or not the shame is confounding additional variables and harm, the truth can also be in the reverse, which is that we don't know if removing the shame is causing more to go into the industry, which causes more harm. So the critique against the concept of shame would also be reversed in that regard, which is that if we remove the shame, we cause more harm because there are more people that are, no longer shamed from going into the industry. Like, I don't disagree with you that your critique is valid in that, like, well, maybe it's the shame that's the biggest problem, and that's why I'm like, hey, let's not use state power, right? We can't prove that it is, that it is one with 100% certainty that it is inherently harmful to everyone, but we have to have a discussion about how much shame as a society ought we put onto this industry. And you could make the argument we should have less shame. I think the results will be less. And I'll have the argument that I think we should have more shame. I think the negative results will be less. And that's kind of what the whole conversation is about here.
I like it. I've got to drop off for just a couple of minutes. I'll just pull my camera down really quick. I'll be right back.
Okay. Let's wrap up. We've already over time here. So I'm going to do an outro to all these amazing individuals. Thank you for this conversation. This has been.
I was gonna go after you, Prime, but yes, time.
You could. I'll give you. Were you gonna ask a question, or were you gonna make a statement?
No, it's okay. I was gonna ask a question.
Brian was a great defender of capitalism in this.
Then ask your question. Then go ahead.
Hold on, it's gonna take like much longer to like
No,
flesh
no, no.
out.
Ask your question.
Okay. Well, I'm curious. So, because this is like rewinding back like an hour, but you said when you first started chiming in that you view this as the acts of whatever Lily Phillips and the other person.
All right, guys,
that is
I'll be back
like I think you
shortly.
said like explicit,
See
like
ya.
it is neutral, neither bad nor good. And I'm curious like how far that extends of like, so as in, let's say a close friend or like your son or daughter was looking to emulate the same thing. You would have like no words of advice or any sort of, you'd be perfectly neutral as you'd reiterate that point of like, you're free to do it.
Yeah, I would. They're absolutely free to do it. Just because it's morally neutral doesn't mean I wouldn't have words of advice for them.
Yeah, I agree with you that because I'm on the same page. Like I said, I don't think it's morally loaded. I just more focus on the healthy, unhealthy. So like, but I'm just curious how like how
Yeah, you
neutral
said
are
you
they?
wouldn't recommend or dissuade someone. Yeah, you said you would be perfectly even. I was like, I don't think it has
Bro,
just because it's morally neutral doesn't mean you have to be like if someone's asking you for advice about it, you have to be like neutral and what should you do it? Like I said, there's a lot of people.
what if it was your mom?
What,
Like
whether
that is,
you ought or
I'd
ought
freak
not
the
do
fuck
it
out.
is the
No,
moral
no,
question.
No,
So it's not
whether
morally
I
neutral
per-
if you say you ought not do it.
No. You're talking about my preference rather than it's the morality of it, right? I can have a preference.
That's what morality is.
independent-
No,
Like
I'm
those
just saying.
moral
I'm
Oh,
just
here
saying
we
to the
go.
words you said
Okay.
earlier.
Here
You
we
I
said
go.
said
you
it
would
for
dissuade
longer.
or dissuade someone
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah. So yeah, I have my preferences are different from my statements, my thoughts on the morality of it all. So like I can prefer that someone don't like not engage something that may be morally good, right? Like I think, for instance, I think so not me,
Being in the
like
military.
I know people, right? I know individuals who believe, right, that you shouldn't engage in organ donation, right? They can understand that it's a moral good because it could save someone, but they don't want their loved ones to engage in that. Like, don't put that on your driver's license, right? A person can do that. That's a preference, right? But they can understand it's a moral good. So, but like whatever, those things are separate. Yeah.
They believe it's a moral evil in that regard.
Yeah,
Right?
but
When you say something, well, no,
well,
like if you
I'm not
say
done.
if
I'm
you
not
give
done.
someone advice and say they ought not do it, okay, yeah. I mean, but you're describing morality.
Those are two separate things, but whatever.
No, no, well, so I'm still. I think I'm going to go in the same direction that you were, Scott. So I'm curious, like, if you have a preference, like, what? Since I agree with you that it's not a moral thing, like, what angle would you come from? Would you say this is my preference and I have nothing to back it up, or no ground to stand on, or like, how would you back up your preference then if there's no morality or it's nothing else behind it? If you view it as neutral.
So okay, like this is why I'm saying preference is different, right? Because I have a preference for foods, but we wouldn't say there's carries any moral weight to that.
I think this is a good
right?
analogy. Yes.
Yeah.
But then, but so to put a pin on that, like, so let's say your son or daughter says, "Hey, I explicitly desire now to get morbidly obese. That is my goal in life." Like, and you like, I agree that's a morally neutral question. But then, like, yes, then how? But then, what would you use to like back it up then, or to discourage them? Or you wouldn't. You would reiterate the same thing.
I guess their health outcomes. Yeah. I mean, but that would be an objective.
That's a moral question.
No, the health.
Are you saying you ought?
outcomes-
You saying when you say that if you give someone advice, right, and they say ought I do this thing or ought I
Take a
not do
shot.
this thing, and then you say, well, you ought not do this thing, and here's why I think you ought not do it. You are making a moral claim about whether or not what they're doing is good or bad. Now, you may say, generally speaking, I think this is good, but in your individual case, I think this is bad. And that's those are two separate moral claims.
Hold on,
One
I
is a
wasn't
moral
doing
claim
that.
about
I
whether or
think
not
it's a
something is
separate-
good.
Prime.
In that
Let me
regard,
explain.
you think that that's
I know
to do.
I know where I know it's Prime. You would agree that like it is bad to be unhealthy, right?
It is bad to be unhealthy.
Unhealthy to be unhealthy.
I don't know if it's. I think it's bad for the individual. Yes, to be unhealthy. Yes, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Why is it bad to be unhealthy?
Because it might shorten your lifespan.
And living a long time is good, but who says who? Says you? You think living a long time and having energy and not getting, deadly diseases, you think this is all good? Who are
Yeah,
you
what
to
if
say
you
this is
want
good?
to ride a motorcycle, right?
It's not.
And
I'm not
increase your
saying-
mortality.
I think this might be a limitation of language, though, right? Because yes, I'm saying, let's remove good or bad. Preferential. Preferential is what I would say. It's preferential to be healthy, right? It's preferential to live
That's a moral
long life.
preference.
And I'm
So
back.
my preference, it would be to live a longer life, right? But not morally. There's no. It's not a moral bad thing to live a shorter life. Uh, I mean, like I think people. I think suicide is should be available to individuals, right? And that's not necessarily a moral bad if a person decides to end their own life. But it's not my preference. So those things are different.
But that's what a moral preference is. Like you're
It's not what
describing a moral
preference
preference.
is. It's not
It
a moral.
literally is.
Those
You're,
aren't
you're
the same.
arguing. Like
You
I
have a different
promise you.
definition than I think anyone else. I'm sorry. That's
No,
not.
I have
it's
the
not-
definition
those are two
from
different-
like understanding philosophy. Like if
So-
you
okay,
say
whatever. Sorry.
that
I can't got the
sure.
dictionaries, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, yeah, you're like, it's not the way anyone else uses those words.
no, it's not. It is.
I don't.
If you understand
get.
basic
Lecture,
philosophy.
hold on. Did I answer your question? Did that make sense? The way my
You sort of, what I think you're doing is, I think, maybe I'm struggling with this a little bit too, but I think what you're doing is you're appealing to like a higher order moral preference of, because I think that there is some idea that all moral statements are just preference statements. Like, I prefer you don't kill people. I prefer you don't, wage war. I prefer you don't do these things. And when you call something wrong, all you're really doing is making a very strong preference statement. I think it's wrong to kill somebody. Why? Because I really don't like it when people kill people. So much so that I'm gonna like prescribe it as being wrong. And so I think when you say somebody like, if someone's like, hey, I'm gonna go get really fat, and you say, that's a really bad idea, like don't do it. Like, I'm telling you what to do, first of all. Like, I'm already like, giving you advice, or like, and if I have like a guardianship over this person, they're my child.
All right, ladies
they are
and gentlemen,
not going to be
I'm gonna
unhealthy through my
end up
force,
ending the
right? Because I'm
stream
the
here
parent,
pretty
and
soon.
they are going to be
If they
eating
don't get
broccoli. I
on
don't give a
track
fuck what they
with
want. They're
something
going to be
that I
eating
can get
broccoli, and they're not
behind,
going to become
been online
obese
a lot today, so
because
it's about
I'm
time for me to
making a
get off.
decision for them, or I'm
And,
encouraging. If they're an adult, I'm encouraging them to make a decision.
And we're falling into
that
the
I
mob
think leads to
preferences.
good outcomes, and those good outcomes
And,
have a broader
Yeah,
societal benefit.
So
between. All right. So let me work with this.
I'm going to participate for a few more
I
minutes,
warned
and then
you.
I'll find a
No,
place,
it's fine,
and
it's fine,
we'll
it's
call
fine.
it an
Corey,
evening,
you were
or
waiting, so
I'll
it's
find a
okay.
good place to stop. We'll call it an evening, and I'll
Can we make
address you guys for a
a
few
distinction
minutes.
between
Give me
strong
one
moral
second.
preferences? Sorry, strong preferences and then weak preferences, right? Because
Yeah.
I have
Yeah,
a weak
absolutely.
preference in terms of the food that I'm I'm eating, right? But I wouldn't say that there's any. I would never call that moral weight. There's moral weight to that. And then I have a weak, maybe a strong preferences for like Israel not committing fucking genocide the way it's doing right now, right? And so like I would attach morality to that, right? Okay, so
Sure.
if we can do that, well then I would categorize my preferences about whether someone should like fuck 1,000 men in a day, right?
Yeah.
As a weak preference, right? Which
Sure.
doesn't have moral weight.
Yeah.
Well,
It's-
it would have some moral weight,
it has-
but it'd be weak.
It just
be
has
weak moral
less.
weight.
Right,
So, like,
when
can I
you-
give an example real quick? I
you're
was
describing-
going down the
you're
line here for a
describing
second.
Values.
Yeah, I was going down the line for just one example. An example of where I think strong moral preference, like different weighing of moral preferences. I have the moral preference. I think that if you like get really obese to the point where you're unhealthy, this is wrong. But I think that me stopping you is even wronger. So I'm not going to do it. Does that make sense?
Sorry, say that one more time, please.
You eating a bunch of like fast food and getting real fat and unhealthy, I think that's wrong.
Uh-huh.
But me stopping you, I think, is even wronger. I think that's like really bad.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
These are values, right? Value is subjective. This is the problem with morality in general, is that people value things and order their values differently. And so when you say that someone ought not do something, that is a value judgment, and that value is a moral statement when you say you ought not do it. Now, you absolutely can say, in terms of my ordered values, let's say if we categorize everything that you value and it was like 1,000 things, it'd be way down on the list, right? And you can say that to the point where it almost feels morally neutral, right? But if you truly were morally neutral about it, and perfectly morally neutral, then if someone said, should I do this? You'd go, I don't fucking know, do whatever you want to do. Like, you would have zero advice for it because you would have zero opinion on whether or not they ought or ought not do it. But if you say, yeah, I don't know, I don't know that that's like a good long-term plan for you, guy, like, then that is you showing that you have a moral value. and that you have some value in an order in which you believe that it would be a bad idea or a good idea for them to engage in such behavior. That is what it means to have a
Yeah,
moral preference.
I like it. Guys, I am going to have to bow out if that's okay. I don't know if the debate is if we've gone into the
Yeah, we're
after
about
party.
to closing statements.
Yeah.
I'll be done in an hour.
But if we're doing closing statements, my only closing statement is that I would just echo what I've said, is that I think that I don't have a problem with adults doing adult things. I have a problem when adult things spill over into juveniles, and then we have and I don't know how to fix it. I don't think anyone does, but there is probably things that we can do to make it better. And beyond that, if a chick wants to take 1,000 dicks, that's her thing, right? So, with that, gentlemen, I hate to do it, to do the talk and leave, but I've got a 4-year-old who's not obeying his mother.
He's got to leave. He's got to dip.
Yeah,
Gotta go, dude. Don't apologize. You're
See
past
you guys.
time. Like, it's good.
You're out of here.
Great. Thank you. Have a good one, friend.
Yeah, man. You guys have a great night.
Take care. Be well.
It's great. Okay, let's go.
That was rough, guys. That's rough. All right, guys. What did we think about that? That was interesting. Scott made some really good points. Went completely different than where I thought it would go, but it is what it is. You guys, I'm going to send you guys over to Sarah, the Raging Tomato, and then I got to go take care of my 4-year-old. As always, get off my lawn. See ya.
Yeah, I just answered your question. Can you tell me what epistemology means?
Epistemology is the study of the epistles. I mean, you can. This guy told me that a husband and wife is supposed to be the representation of God and the church. He said he's a husband. I asked him if he sees himself as the embodiment of God, and he said no. That doesn't make any sense.
Wait, what is the epistles?
The epistles are the apostles. Are you talking about the